Is the Harvard president, Claudine Gay, has resigned. But the first thing I want to talk about is a poll I did that I disagree with, I think, 71% of my audience. I'll bring it up on screen real quick. I asked people, I said, is MAGA Trump and his movement, or is MAGA bigger than Trump? And 71% of people said that MAGA was bigger than Trump. I don't believe so. I think that it is Trump and his movement, and I'm going to explain why. And let me know what you think in the comments, but I'm going to make my case for it. Then we're going to talk about the other stuff. Appreciate you guys. I think this is going to be an intriguing and thought-provoking live stream. God bless you. Dream Rare Podcast starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles.
What's going on Facebook? What's going on YouTube? Appreciate you guys. Look like everybody's coming in. We're going to talk about the Harvard lady. I believe she was the president of Harvard. Let me look it up real quick because I don't want to speak out of my ass. You know, enough people do that. Yeah, Claudine Gay, the president of Harvard University, has resigned. And I was going to make a joke at first. I was going to be like, breaking news, they're kicking Gay out of Harvard. Guys, they're kicking Gay out of Harvard. This is totally homophobic. They're removing Gay from Harvard. I can't believe it. I thought Harvard was the home of Gay. Claudine Gay, that is, of course, not the homosexual agenda. That'll, of course, still be blasting loud and clear at Harvard. But Claudine Gay is resigning. Sorry for the, misunderstanding to those who just joined and heard me screaming, Gay is getting kicked out of Harvard. All right. Very low tier joke, but I thought it was funny. I'm going to talk about this first before we talk about how gay Harvard used to be and how it's removing some of its gay. Here's a poll I did on Twitter. And also I got a lot of backlash on my Instagram post about Green Day and Trump. And I wanted to explain myself because I think this is maybe not going to be the most popular live stream because of the topic, but I do think to people that are interested in politics, whether it's conservative, libertarian, independent, possibly progressive or left wing, but mostly, people that are paying attention to the 2024 election and political trends, this is an important, I think, topic that is, I disagree with most people. And obviously I think I'm right or I wouldn't say this, but it's okay. For those who just joined, here is the poll I did. I just said, is MAGA Trump and his movement, or is it bigger than Trump? 29% of people said that MAGA is Trump and his movement. 71% says it's bigger than Trump. On my Instagram post about Green Day, I got thousands of comments, and one of them was this guy, Jason Wesley, who I don't believe I've met him in person. Maybe I have, but he seems nice. I don't care that he disagreed with me, but he said, something along the lines of, you don't get it, anomaly. This is a dumb take. MAGA is not just Trump supporters, and Trump is not the leader of MAGA. And even though he got a lot of up likes, and I don't care. I completely disagree with that. I think it's insane to say that Trump is not the leader of MAGA. I can't possibly disagree less. I'm shocked that people even do agree with that. But let me state my case. So MAGA is similar to Black Lives Matter, not in political theory or anything, but Black Lives Matter is a statement. Do Black Lives matter? Of course. Everybody was like, yeah. Should you want to make America great again? I hope so. What do you want to make it shittier? Some people do, I guess. But, it's a statement that became a company that became, I would say with Black Lives Matter, it became an organization, maybe a nonprofit or something, that became a political movement. So the phrase Black Lives Matter means almost nothing to people outside of the organization and the movement it's become. It's the same thing with MAGA. Make America great again. Trump did not invent that term or create that phrase. It's been used in politics in the past. However, you have to give Trump credit. He rebranded Make America Great Again. He made it his own. And it was a phrase that nobody really talked about that much for 30 years. I don't even think it was that popular back then. The phrase Make America Great Again got a million times more popular under Donald Trump. So even though a lot of people might agree with Jason Wesley, I have no problem with that. Him saying that I don't understand and that I'm disparaging MAGA because MAGA is not just Trump supporters and Trump is not the leader of MAGA. It's what are you smoking? No offense. That's completely not true. Trump is absolutely the leader of MAGA. And most people in MAGA would obviously admit that. If you see a MAGA hat, who popularized the MAGA hat? Donald Trump. I have no problem with MAGA hats. I like people who wear MAGA hats, but I'm just saying it's when I see a MAGA hat, I don't think, oh, that has nothing to do with Trump. It has everything to do with Trump. In fact, it was his hat for his presidential election that became even bigger than that, I guess, at a certain point, and it became a cultural thing that most people wear. But if you go up to 100 people with MAGA hats on, you go, do you like Donald Trump? 100 of them are going to say yes. I mean, I would be shocked if even like 1% said no. Like, nobody's walking around with a MAGA hat that doesn't like Trump because it's his hat that his team created for his campaign, for his election, and it's his movement. I don't even think it's debatable. I'm going to read a few comments real quick. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, obviously not everyone's going to agree, but like, do people think that Trump's not the leader of MAGA? Like, his biggest supporters know that he's the leader of MAGA. People that don't like him know that he's the leader of MAGA. I thought whether we could say MAGA is bigger than Trump, that's a different conversation slightly. But for someone to say in my comment section that Trump isn't the leader of MAGA and I don't understand, I can't possibly disagree more. Whether you like Trump, love him, voted for him twice, don't want to vote for him, want to vote for him again, wear the hat, don't wear the hat, I would think that it's not even debatable that Trump is the leader of MAGA. The Parliament of Sweden super chat, save it till the end. I'll try to answer it at the end. But in general, so how is he not the leader? I don't even understand that. But when it comes to is MAGA beyond Trump, I don't think so. For the same reason, I don't think Black Lives Matter is beyond the Marxist organization and organizers who created it. Like, you could say, oh, it's different. It's like, not really. Like, the phrase is different, but the organization isn't different from that. So I would say MAGA is Trump's movement. He absolutely is the leader. And, you know, because he's pretty much created the brand and all the merch and it belongs to him in many ways, in order to make a movement that counters that, if you think it's not good enough, I don't think you can do it under the umbrella of MAGA. I think Trump completely dominates that. If you want to beat him at his own game or whatever, you got to make your own movement with your own hats and your own phrases. You can't repurpose his and say you're going to take over. I think DeSantis essentially tried to do that, not completely, but it failed because Trump supporters like Trump. MAGA likes Trump. They don't like DeSantis. They don't care about the topics necessarily. It's about Trump. With that being said, you know, is it bigger than him? You know, like 71% of people said, is it beyond him? I don't think so. Let me explain why. If you take a stance, like, does make America great again mean make America great again? Like, if Trump does something that is not good for America and you say that you think that MAGA's, like, you know, different from what he did and that he should not do that, people get mad at you. Like, for example, if Joe Biden took $1 million from Pfizer. I hate to always use this example, but it's just the easiest one. If Joe Biden took $1 million from Pfizer, hired a Pfizer board member for his cabinet, hired a pharmaceutical lobbyist to run HHS, and then bought 100 million Pfizer doses and gave $18 billion to the pharmaceutical industry with a socialist warp speed scheme, everyone would come to the conclusion, well, let's look at all the money transfers, etc. Maybe Biden sold his cabinet out, right? That's pretty much every Trump supporter, conservative would be like, that's pretty clear. Biden sold his cabinet out. He took $100 million from corporations. Then he hired a bunch of those people for these positions. It's not rocket science, folks. It's literally how politics works. You take all the money and you exchange the money for influence. But when Donald Trump does that, and I pointed out because I thought people cared about pharmaceutical corruption, most people, not all, but a lot of people in MAGA, they call me a communist. They say, you're a communist. How am I a communist? Because I said that. They say, you're paid. So because I pointed out factually that Trump took hundreds of millions of dollars of donor money, which is true, that he said he'd never take, which I didn't even know for years he took because I believed what he said. I didn't even research all that stuff because I was too busy defending him. It's my fault for pointing it out. And then MAGA projects onto me what he's actually doing. He's selling his cabinet out. He's taking money from people who hate MAGA people. He's taking money from corporations that don't give two shits about you. But the act of pointing that out, which I believe would make America great again by pointing out that the same corporations and a lot of the same lobbyists are controlling both sides, which is why Trump's administration went nowhere. It's because he sold his cabinet out. And then that sellout cabinet, you know, does what it always does. But I'm thrown out of the movement. So how is MAGA bigger than Trump, where if you try to compete with Trump, you get thrown out of the MAGA movement? I know it's not popular. Clearly, 71% of people disagree with me, but I don't believe it's bigger than him. With that being said, let's look at Trump versus DeSantis. I'm not asking you to trust Ron DeSantis. I'm not asking you to think he's amazing. I'm not asking for you to not notice that he's taking donor money. You should notice that DeSantis is taking donor money. But if you only call out DeSantis when he takes donor money, but when Trump takes donor money, you make excuses, you're just a hypocrite. It doesn't it's not about the donor money. It's about the person. So it's like, if DeSantis, like a few times he came on stage and he said some really real stuff about Fauci and Big Pharma and how he U-turned and Trump never U-turned and kept going down the same wrong path. And he was wrong about this, and this. Like, he was totally right. Like, I saw people share it, and like people like Jack Posobiec and other people that are super big Trump supporters. I like Jack, but this is just true. He'd be like, I can't believe DeSantis said this. And I watched it thinking like, oh, DeSantis probably really screwed up and said something stupid. But I watched the 2-minute clip and I'm like, DeSantis literally just told the truth. And then Trump spirals and just starts making stuff up. He's like, oh, Florida would be fine under a Democrat. It's just the warm weather. Trump literally said that one time. He said that it was the warm weather in Florida that made the politics good. Charlie Crist did a fine job and Democrats do just as good of a job because of the warm weather. Guys, I live in California. It's not true. The warm weather does not equal good politics. Who believes that? That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I don't care if Van Jones said it. I don't care if Nikki Haley said it, Donald Trump, DeSantis, the ladies on The View. Like, that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. But Donald Trump said it. So it's like, that's what MAGA, you can't counter that. You can't come out. If I say like, that's dumb, like I might vote for Trump, but that's dumb. And then MAGA gets mad at you. They say, shut up. How dare DeSantis stand on stage and actually tell the truth? It's like, don't you want to out-truth DeSantis? Don't you want to show that Trump's better and more honest? Like, then I'll vote for him. No, they didn't want to do that. They're like, no, it's about his shoes. We're going to use petty attacks against him, but then cry when somebody makes petty attacks against Trump. Like, oh, the left calls him orange. Well, he's white, but I think he like dyes his, I don't know if he tans or whatever he does. Like, he's a little orange, not like totally orange, but it doesn't matter. It's like, who cares how orange Trump is? But you care about DeSantis's boots. You'll talk about him for 5 months. I in theory, Make America Great Again should be about making America great again. It should be bigger than one person, but it's not. Let's be realistic. Like, I'm not going to hop into the MAGA movement and be like, it's mine now. Trump's not the leader. It's his movement. Let's be honest. Like, Make America Great Again is Trump's movement. I'm just shocked that like people like Jason, who I like, Jason Wesley, and I'm no disrespect. It's like, he's entitled to his opinion and perspective, whether it's true or not. But he hops in and it's like, I want to read the exact comment because I don't want to like paraphrase. I'm just going to bring it up real quick. And I don't care. I'm just having a conversation because that's what I do. I'm trying to just like weave through what's going on and provide some clarity. But let me see real quick. All right. So this is what he wrote to me. He wrote, this is kind of tone deaf to what MAGA is. Trump isn't the leader, although I believe many agree with everything that he said. Most conservatives that support Trump aren't walking in lockstep with him, but they believe that he's an opponent and a big middle finger to the establishment. I agree with the second part, but saying I'm tone deaf and saying Trump isn't the leader. Dude, that's like joining Black Lives Matter and being like, I'm the leader now. Patrisse Cullors isn't the leader. It's like, but she kind of is though. Like, yeah, I mean, you're in the move. Like, Trump, I'm not egotistical enough to think that I'm MAGA. Like, Trump made MAGA. Trump's team made MAGA hats. He made the brand. He made the phrase. It's his phrase. It's his hats. It's his merch. I commend him for that. I think it's a gene. MAGA's probably one of the best brands in modern history. I mean, it's loved and hated, but who's made more money than MAGA and who's created more of like a political movement than Donald Trump? I'm not knocking the guy for that. Like, it's his. How could you say that he's not the leader of MAGA? In your head, you don't think he should be the leader of MAGA if he does something that you don't want him to do, but that's not the reality that we live in. In the reality, Democrats should be the party of John F. Kennedy, and they should be moderate and reasonable, but they're not. So pretending like they are, it's not the party of that. Like, Democrats should be the party of the people, but they're not though. So with MAGA, it's like, I'm just being realistic. If you want to dethrone Trump, which probably won't happen because people are like mind controlled by him, you can't just say, "Oh, MAGA is bigger than him. I'm gonna be MAGA." It's like, you're not though. Like, you're not. It's not. It doesn't matter what you do or what you say. It's not about the truth. It's not about economic policy or social. It's about Trump. If you come through with the right policy, people will get mad at you if it goes against something that he did because they see it as unloyal. Someone's like, who paid me? Who paid me to do what? To make an Instagram reel saying that, pointing out how BlackRock Pfizer, and what was the other one? Raytheon are connected to Trump's administration. Who do you think's paying me to say that? You think there's big money in doing journalism? Of course there's not. The big money is in just drooling over one side. And I thought of the perfect example to show how politics is and how sports are. And I have to say this in all honesty. I'm not a perfect person. I have a lot of flaws. There's certain things that I'm not good at, and there's other things that I'm really good at, just like everybody else. One thing that I do believe that I'm good at, and I think it's one of my skills and why I'm able to be successful in this space, is I do believe that I'm very honest. Like I'm not perfect. I'm not saying like, everything's like all out, but I'm like, when I play basketball, I'm giving you a sports example. If the ball goes out on me, I say it goes out on me. If I got fouled, I say I got fouled. If I didn't, I don't cheat in basketball. I don't cheat when I play street basketball. I'm not a cheater. And when I watch a sports game, whether I want the team to win or not, of course, I want the refs to mess up for my side. But at the same time, if I see like it goes out of bounds on my team, I'm going to admit that. I'm going to be like, I hope the ref gets it wrong, but I believe that that's out on my team. Most people are not built like me. When you play street basketball with a bunch of men, they lie, they fake call fouls, they say it was out on you. They know it was out on them. I know it was out on them. Everyone knows it, but they like to lie to get a competitive advantage. This is very common. I would say like 90% of sports fans, if you're watching the Las Vegas Raiders play the Cincinnati Bengals and it's a close call, 90% of those Raiders that say it was an interception would say it's not an interception if it wasn't their team. That's just the reality of it. I don't know why people are such liars in this world. I don't understand it. It's not who I am. It bothers the hell out of me, but that's just how it is. Like if my team, I like the Giants, if they throw an interception and I wish that it hit the ground, but I watch the replay and I'm like, oh shit, it didn't hit the ground. I'm honest with myself. I hope the refs mess up, but I'm just like, yeah, no, that was an interception. Most sports fans won't do that. And if you change the teams on the same exact play, they would literally say the opposite of what they just said to go in their team's favor. That's human nature. That's how men act. I'm not sure why. I can't explain it. It's literally pathological because even if you want your team to win, like why lie about it? You lying about it from your couch isn't going to change the results of what the ref said anyway. Like I personally can't fathom why people are so dishonest in sports, in basketball, in football, but they are. Politics, I figured out, is the same exact way as that. If Trump does something that's super corrupt, people get mad when you talk about it. But if I could take the same thing that he did or that Biden did and switch them, then people get pissed off. It's like, it's insane. When it came to Trump and DeSantis, there are cases to be made for why Trump is better than DeSantis. In my view, there are a few things that Trump is better at. I think there's a good case to why DeSantis would be a better president than Trump. You never know until he's there, but I believe that he hires better. He actually executes with his power. And it's possible that he could be way better than Trump. In fact, I think in many ways he would, but in some ways he wouldn't. There's an argument to be made for both of them since you can't prove who would be better necessarily. But that's not what people are doing. It's like they're just ruthless. It's like they're drunk, fat sports fans who don't care about anything. Like if Trump threw an interception, they would say it wasn't an interception. If DeSantis did the same thing, they're saying what they just said wasn't an interception is an interception. It's like that's how fake people are in politics. I figured this out over the last 2 years. It's bothered the shit out of me. It's made me, on one hand, extremely respected. I have a lot of honor. And I would say millions of people around the world respect me, and I appreciate that. But it's also made me kind of unpopular in circles that I used to be popular in because they see me as a traitor because I'm just calling it like I see it. If I'm a Giants fan and I believe it's an interception, I'm still a Giants fan. I still want them to win the game. I'm just like, yo, he played bad. And then everyone's like, oh, it was the ref. And it's like, let's watch the replay. Just be honest. It's controversial. Maybe it could have went either way. People can't do that. They can't do it in sports and they can't do it in politics. So with MAGA, it's Trump's movement. It's Trump's hats. It's Trump's shirts. It's Trump's phrase. It's Trump's. I think it's literally like, I think you're as insane to say that Trump's not the leader of MAGA. That would be like saying that Joe Biden's not the president. It's JFK Jr. from Guantanamo Bay, or, saying the View are intelligent. It's like, these are I don't just be like, oh, just the left's crazy and the right's totally normal. Like, no, I think it's pretty nuts to be like, oh, Trump's not the leader of MAGA. What are you talking about? Like, how? Who's the leader of MAGA then? Name one leader of MAGA. It's literally Trump. The whole MAGA movement revolves around Trump. If Trump says jump, they jump. If he says sit down, they sit down. If he does something crazy, they boo for 5 seconds and then they cheer 10 seconds later. It's like, I used the example the other day, but Charlie Kirk was going nuts over Republicans who wanted to build a new FBI building, which is cool. I mean, yeah, that's kind of weird. Don't you want to like dismantle the deep state and, you know what I'm saying, make government smaller, and the FBI are persecuting Christians and Americans and whatever? It's like, okay. So Charlie Kirk is furious and he's going for the throats of all the Republicans that are against it. I'm exposing you. I think you got blackmailed, he said. He basically said they were controlled opposition. This is why we have no opposition. And then a couple of days later, Donald Trump says exactly what Charlie Kirk was going at other Republicans for. Is Charlie Kirk going to have that same energy with Donald Trump? Of course not. Is he going to suggest that Trump is blackmailed like he suggested other Republicans were? Of course not. Charlie Kirk loses everything if he does that, so he's got to shut his mouth. So, yeah, in some ways, MAGA obviously disagrees with Trump, but Trump has you like a little puppet on a string. He knows you're just going to boo for 5 seconds and shut your mouth and get back in line and hang out at Mar-a-Lago and take pictures of him like he's Taylor Swift. So, whether you're obsessed with MAGA, whether you rock a MAGA hat, whether you like Trump or used to or don't, I don't even think it's debatable that he's the leader of MAGA, but 71% of people think that it's bigger than him, and it isn't just him and his movement. How is MAGA not Trump and his movement? It's literally Trump and his movement. That's what the entire thing is. The phrase isn't, but it's like saying Black Lives Matter is a conservative movement because Black lives should matter to conservatives. It's like, no, Black Lives Matter is a liberal Marxist movement that, whatever his name was, Alex Mann, puppeted some young black chicks and, gave them Mao Zedong's Black Book and some other, communist socialist content and had them pass books out on it. It's like, that's what it is. Like in theory, I wish it wasn't, but am I going to sit and say that Black Lives Matter is a nonpartisan, movement of race? It's not. It should be, but it's not. MAGA, Make America Great Again, should be about making America great again, of course, but it's not. It's Trump and his movement. I don't even understand how that's debatable. In theory, it shouldn't be, but it's not about theory. It's about reality for this. Let me know what you guys think. And that's just my only point is, where does it go from here when you have a movement that's so obsessed with a character and a person that literally nothing else matters to them? I looked at a tweet that I had real quick before I move on. I looked at a tweet that I had from April 20th or 30th, 2020, right? It was a month and a half after the lockdown. It was very clear, in my opinion, that we were being scammed and conned, and I was screaming about it on Twitter. Nobody else was, because they're all just like, oh, Trump has a plan or whatever. And I remember Trump tweeted that he thought that Sweden should lock down, and Sweden was so wrong for not locking down. And he showed a bunch of statistics out of context, the same way CNN would, to justify lockdowns and communism and tyranny. And I tweeted at the time, this was a month and a half after lockdown, I go, Trump's making excuses for communism and lockdowns. He's basically just a salesman for communism. I called him a salesman for communism. And people came in my comment section and nobody was refuting what I said. I went back and looked at it because there were people that were like, didn't you used to support Bernie Sanders? What does that have to do with my tweet? You think that Sweden should lock down, and Trump's right to tell a European country to lock down and destroy their economy because I've supported Bernie Sanders 5 years ago? Here's the thing, though. I was 26 years old. 25 years old. This is before I paid taxes. This is before I understood how to pay my own health insurance. I mean, I paid taxes, but I made no money, so I'm not really paying like actual taxes. And I wasn't on my own health insurance plan until I turned 26. And then I woke up to this reality. But anyway, Trump used to donate to Hillary Clinton. Carrie Lake was in her 50s or something, or maybe 60s. I don't know how old she was. And she voted for Hillary Clinton. I had the common sense to know that I should never write Hillary Clinton's name down on a paper when I was 25 and I leaned left. You're worshiping a guy who donated to Hillary Clinton, a guy who gave him a standing ovation, a guy who endorsed Mitt Romney in 2018, and a guy who endorsed Mitch McConnell in 2020. I don't care. I'm not trying to bring this all up. It's just like, you try to de-justify what I'm saying by bringing up something out of context that doesn't address what I'm saying, yet you have completely different standards for another guy. And in my opinion, I think everyone should be able to wake up whenever they do. But if you're 25 years old, I think it makes a lot more sense to be left-wing until you start paying taxes and health insurance. I realized real fast that a lot of the bullshit Bernie was spouting, he didn't catch me with all that socialist stuff. It was more like, oh, Hillary sucks. He's going to fight the left and the right. The Republican Party's fake and the Democrats going to fake. That's what lured me in, because I didn't really pay attention. Once I started paying for health insurance, I'm like, he's lying because I'm broke and I'm getting scammed by California, who's Democrat. Long story short, there's people in the Trump movement now, including himself, that were donating to Democrats in their 40s and 50s and 60s. Like, you're not going to see me donating to Democrats in my 40s, 50s, and 60s. To me, it's like, if you don't wake up by the time you're 30 or 40 or 50, it's like, that's a little suspect. But, everybody has their own timeline. That's okay. I'm not here to judge. But that's like how they get, you must be a communist. Why am I a communist? Because I'm against communism? Yeah, because when our guy does socialism, we defend socialism, and you must be a socialist if you call it out. How does that make sense? I point out that Trump took pharma money, sold his cabinet out to pharma, bought a bunch of their doses with socialism. So he's literally more complicit with big pharma than Travis Kelce and Green Day combined. Make fun of Green Day and Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce sucks. I'm just saying Trump is way more in on it with Pfizer in every way than Travis Kelce is. If you can't say that, you're a clown. You're fake. You're just a fake person. I don't know what to tell you. I don't care if you wear a MAGA hat or a Democrat Joe Biden hat. You're fake. Just like a guy, if you say you got fouled and we both know you didn't get fouled, you're fake. If the ball went out on you in street basketball and you say that it went out on me and that's not true, but you want an revenge, you're fake. And that's the problem in this country and the world. Most people are fake. They're just liars. So when their team throws an interception, they all cry and say it wasn't an interception, even though they watched the same replay I did. But if the roles were reversed and it was the other team, they'd say the exact opposite. Most men in this country have no honor and they don't mean what they say. So when I come along and I mean what I say and I actually mean it, people don't know how to handle it because they're just fake people. So they look at me and go, "Oh, you sold out. You must have taken money." Because I proved that Trump took hundreds of millions of dollars and he sold out his cabinet and he took money. Now I took money. Look into it. You know what I'm saying? Go find all the donor money I took. It doesn't exist because I didn't. There's nobody paying me. In fact, I just lose opportunities. I lose money. I lose sponsors. Nobody wants somebody that exposes their whole fake false paradigm. There's no money in this. I used to make more money 2 years ago when I did other stuff. Part of that was, I think, pandemic. And, there weren't a lot of people who got it. So I'm grateful that that was a time, but I'm not complaining. It's just like, this hasn't been more profitable for me. It's been less profitable. All the money is just sucking up to Trump, getting a $15,000 speaking gig, or pretending like you were more relevant in your space than you really were. Oh, I'm a singer who got persecuted for, liking Trump. And you look at some of these singers and it's like they were never popping before. Them saying that made them popping. And it's like with my music, my political analysis made me popular. It wasn't necessarily my music. I have tens of millions of streams. I've done bigger shows than a lot of people. And in many ways, I'm a bigger hip hop artist than most of these people who use that to get in the space were. But I didn't use my hip hop to be like, look, that's why just give me $15,000 speaking gigs because I'm a rapper who got persecuted for liking Trump. No, I earned my living and I earned my respect by making videos and news analysis that got 50 times bigger than my music did. I didn't just grift off of a career that I didn't really have to act like I'm a persecuted victim just to stand on a stage and say generic Fox News talking points. That's what a lot of people do, but it is what it is. It's just a side note. With that being said, I'm going to read a few comments and I'm going to get to my second story about how they removed gay at Harvard. Guys, something's going on. They used to like gay at Harvard, and now they're kicking gay out. They said, "Get out, gay. Get the hell out, gay." And I said, "Whoa, Harvard, that seems really homophobic." And they said, "No, gay needs to get the hell out of here." And I said, "Harvard, what are you talking about? Look at my brothers and sisters of all 10 trillion genders. They want a home." And they said, "Get gay out of there." And I'm like, okay. And now Claudine Gay is going to resign. They're homophobic. They just can't allow a gay black woman to, be the president. It's just so anti-gay. I mean, we should start a movement. I think I'm going to be a protester now. I'm going to say, "Put gay back, gay in the White House." And people are like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, dude, start this whole like left wing like thing where it's like they're yelling at you, "Oh, you don't like gay?" And they're like, they're anti-gay at Harvard. Anyway, I'm watching, like, it's so funny too. When people get pissed at me on Twitter, they always retweet Cat Turd and Benny Johnson. I've mentioned this 15 times because it's true. Like, whatever Rachel Maddow and The View are doing to liberals, Cat Turd and Benny Johnson are doing to Republicans. Like their minds are literally like rotting, and they always just get mad at me where they're like, someone's like, and I go and they're like retweeting Benny Johnson, who's like, yeah, we're kicking out the liberals at Harvard. This might be the turn of a new thing where it's conservative. And it's like, no, that's not what's happening at Harvard at all. 95% of Republican takes are garbaggio. They just say, like, they're literally just saying mind rotting, mind numbing, low IQ, low tier babble, just slop. And then people suck it up and they think they're like fighting the left. My take on the Harvard thing is the accurate take. It's what's really happening. So for decades at Harvard, they've allowed far leftism. I don't know if you'd want to call it reverse racism or whatever, there's a name for it. I don't like to use racism because it's super lame. But in general, it's like they've pushed their far left agenda. They've pushed, in my opinion, Bolshevik ideology. They've pushed, Marxist ideology, and they've pushed, I would say race bending, just ridiculous, nonsensical, non-common sense. Like men can be pregnant, just like the craziest shit they've been doing for 20 years at Harvard. And here's the thing. The big donors who claim to be conservative and, they had no problem funding that. Okay. This is the truth of what's going on. They didn't care about funding the Bolsheviks. They didn't care about funding the Marxists. They didn't care about funding the far left. The second that gay crossed the line was the same second that Kanye crossed the line, and the same second that Kyrie Irving crossed the line, and the same second that Dave Chappelle crossed the line. And it's the one line you're not allowed to cross, whether you're black, left wing, or gay. There's one victim card that goes above all of those cards. And I'm not justifying everything everyone's done, because I'm not them. And I'm certainly not Claudine Gay. So I'm not justifying all the dumb stuff she's probably done in her life, but I wish her well. What I am saying is above the Bolshevik victim card and the Marxist victim card and the black victim card and the lesbian victim card and all of the victim cards is the one victim card that goes above all. And it's the one that I don't even really want to say right now, because I don't feel like reading a bunch of press from the left wing and the quote unquote right wing that will smear me faster than CNN. Everyone knows what that victim card is. When you're Bolsheviks and you're Marxists and you're leftists and you're liberals and you're gay and you're black and you're pushing all your ideology, you can't cross the Zionism line. If you do, you'll find out real fast that that's not where you're supposed to go. So if she would have kept pushing all of her babble for the next 50 years, no one would have cared. But she crossed the line of Zionism. She was too pro-Palestine, and they replaced her with a man. Alan Garber, I think his name is. He's a conservative Jewish guy, which I'm wonder how conservative could you possibly be at Harvard? But, who knows? In general, it's like, it's not a huge win for conservatives. It's just Zionism doing what Zionism always does. It's like, you can't cross this line, but at the same time, you also can't talk about it. You can't say it exists. You can't say that there's any power there, else that's anti-Semitism. And you can't possibly think that this is happening. Shut your mouth or we'll destroy your life. Get back in line and just feed the left and the right wing slop. And if you ever don't just feed them slop to destroy their minds, then we'll just make you look like a psychopath and ruin your life. And, as we'll tell you that you can't say that we're doing it because it doesn't exist. It's like, all right, well, that seems like an unfair deal, but it is what it is. Kyrie Irving, here's a perfect example. There's a lot of dumb stuff being said by basketball players. There's also a lot of cool stuff being said by basketball players. I like basketball, but you could say whatever you want. You just can't criticize gay people, and you can't say, Trumpy stuff sometimes, and you definitely can't say anything Jewish, or else you're done. So when Nikola Jokic said no homo one time, they gave him a $50,000 fine, I believe. It's like, oh, you criticized the rainbow community? Here's a fine. Kyrie Irving posted an Amazon documentary. I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch it. It was too expensive. I don't care about it. I'm not into black people are Jews, or it's not my niche market. I'm sorry. I'm more into like UFC and like politics. I understand. I had some Jewish friends that were really bothered by it, and they were like, he's not really Jew. And I'm like, okay, and that's fine. I get it. And then I had some Jewish friends who thought it was hilarious, and they literally don't care. Everyone can feel how they want to feel about it. Me personally, I just didn't watch the documentary, so I don't even know what's in it. But all I'm going to say is there's a basketball players saying some crazy stuff. They're on stage with Hillary Clinton. They're constantly disparaging people of other races. They're constantly saying out-of-pocket stuff. and no one cares. But the second you challenge the name that you're not allowed to ever say, then you get suspended. It's like, okay, let's talk about Kanye. And I'm saying before the Alex Jones interview, because after that, I mean, the press was obviously going to get pissed off at you. But before that, he just started talking about Zionism, right? And harshly, I would say in a way that I wouldn't do it. I'm just being honest. I'm not being like, I'm not throwing him under the bus, or people are going to be like, oh, I'm myself. I wouldn't have acted how he acted personally. I think a lot of it seemed like a little angry and spiteful. And, I'm not into that. I'm more just like, I'm going to be honest, and I'm not going to be like, there's a certain energy that I come with that I feel like, he started kind of straying from that, but is what it is. Two different people. But long story short, once he did that, a lot of things started closing for him. And he definitely made some errors, I think, along the way, obviously. But it's like, once he crossed that line, he lost that. He crossed that line, he lost that. He crossed that line, he lost that. Here's the thing that I'm saying, though. I'm not justifying everything he's ever said or done. I'm not doing that. I'm just being honest. If he would have just made music about killing black people, nobody would have cared. That's literally what 50% of rap artists do. They're like, I kill my neighbors, I kill people. And it's like, I'm not being like overly, I love rap music. There's a lot of brilliant rappers, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar. Rap is way bigger than that. But there are also a lot of trap rappers who literally just talk about killing black people and gang robbery and beating up people's grandmas and just demonic evil crime that like is just like petty crime, stealing people's shoes. Like that's what rap music, not all of it. I'm a hip hop artist myself. I love hip hop. There's a lot of brilliant black artists out there that aren't that, but everybody knows there's also thousands of black artists that are literally like that. And they're feeding the culture and they're feeding their people and other people demonic, evil, wicked music about hurting people for literally no reason. And nobody cares about it. You get it? That's the point I was always trying to make. I'm not justifying everything Kanye's ever said or done. I'm not him. I didn't steal the microphone from Taylor Swift or tell George Bush he doesn't care about black people. He's him. I'm me. I'm my own man. I'm not trying to take all his arrows, and he's probably not trying to take my arrows. I'm just being honest. It's like people misconstrue this and think I'm defending everything he's ever said or done. I'm not. I don't care for, a lot of stuff he's done, but I'm just making the point that he's allowed to make music about killing black people. He's allowed to make music feeding kids drugs. He's allowed to tell kids to overdose and kill themselves. There's like suicide rappers now that they literally just tell kids to like take drugs and kill themselves. And 3 years later, they end up dead because they kill themselves. And that's okay. So what's the line you can't cross in rap music? What's the line you can't cross in the NBA? What's the line you can't cross if you're a black woman, Bolshevik Marxist? It's obvious. It's the one line. It's the one line that it can cross. And to be quite honest, I don't even like talking about it anymore because I've figured that out myself. It's like, it's the one line that they go batshit insane. I've been talking and doing political analysis for 10 years, but the second I got any influence, they had a concerted hit piece on me, and it ended up in 15 different publications, and they lied about me, and they said I was anti-Semitic, and they're going to say it for the rest of my life. I'm just letting you guys know they're going to try to character smear me for the rest of my life when I do anything ever that has nothing to do with Israel or Jewish anything, because I don't talk about it all the time. They're going to try to ruin my life literally forever, and then they're going to try to say that it's not happening, and it's hateful to say that it is happening, and that there's even one person or two person or three people or four people that do that. So I'm just being honest. That's what I have to deal with for the rest of my life, because I told you the truth about how stuff works. And that's what they do to literally everybody. And by they, I mean individuals, I mean news organizations, I mean certain people, but it is what it is, because they is now like offensive. It's like saying they to somebody who's he, her, she, shem. It's like she, them, or whatever. It's like, okay. But in general, that's what's happening at Harvard. Not what Benny Johnson's saying, not what Dan Bongino's saying, not what DeSantis or Trump are saying, not what anyone's saying. They're all lying to you. That is the Republican Party, in my view. It's all just like MAGA slop, conservative slop, tell you enough to just run you in circles over cat turd headlines, but never let you get to the truth of what's really going on. And once you get to the truth of what's really going on, they throw you to the curb faster than the View would and try to shame you and mock you and use their media organizations and press friends to disparage you. It's like, okay, so what's the point of being right wing? To just worship a guy who literally would throw you under a bus in 5 seconds if he could? It's ridiculous. So I'm just being honest. I don't like, when it comes to like Bolsheviks versus Zionists on college campuses, it's like, I'm not in college. Obviously I care about what the future of the world thinks, but I'm just being honest about the like where you're allowed to go. If Claudine Gay never came out and said anything pro-Palestine or whatever the hell she did, or allowed protests or whatever, nobody would have cared about her plagiarism or any of the other stuff. Like, she would have been able to plagiarize, lie, be insane, be terrible and evil for the next 30 years. It's the line you can't cross. Everyone knows that. Dave Chappelle knows it. You know, he was talking, I think, I haven't watched his new special, but he talked about all the backlash that he got from making fun of transgenderism. And every comedian knows, like, you could make some jokes here or there about certain things, but there's like certain lines that like just get you in more trouble. It's like, okay, you know, that's why a lot of them, they just like make fun of MAGA all the time. But the thing is, you get a lot of backlash for making fun of MAGA. There's hundreds of millions of conservatives who then hate you also. So it's like, that's not really a line to cross, but it's like, you can make fun of white people. Everyone can make fun of white people. Tim Pool can say, I don't know groups of people. It's racist and anti-Semitic to say that groups of people exist. And then Tim Pool constantly says, white people, white people, white people are Antifa. Does Tim Pool say some white people are in Antifa? Oh, some white people are in Antifa, but not all. No, he just says white people because everybody instinctually knows he's not talking about all white people. But Tim Pool knows, just like everybody knows on the left, you can kick down at white people or make jokes about white people or make broad accusations about white people, and nobody cares. Everyone knows that, left wing or right wing, and that's why the right wing's controlled up. They just do the same thing. They're like, oh, I'm not racist. Yeah, sure you're not, bro. Whatever. And then you move, and it's like, okay, you know, women. It's like, I don't know how much what do you really want to say about women? Like, you're gonna start getting in some trouble. And then it's like black people. It's like, okay, well, don't make a black joke, white guy. You know, you might ruin your career. It's like, better be funny or else I'm done. And then it's like black women that, you know, are transgender, and it's like, whoa, you know, you definitely don't want to go there. And then like gay and trans, it's like, you know, you're like moving up the ladder and like you're starting to sweat. And Chappelle, like, you know, now the press is like getting mad at him. He's made edgy jokes for 50 years and nobody's cared. Dave Chappelle's been an American legend, and now, you know, he makes fun of trans and they're getting mad at him. And then he makes some Jewish joke and it's like, all right, pull the curtains, you know, come back in a year. It's like, so he made a joke, I think, saying that he like climbed up the victim ladder or whatever. But I mean, every comedian knows you can, you know, there's certain things that are just harder to talk about. Maybe it's human nature. Maybe it's like, you know, a defense mechanism. It is what it is. It's just like everyone knows. And I think now on college campuses, everyone knows like you're allowed to be leftists and Bolsheviks and Marxists as long as you don't cross the line of Zionism. If you know, don't cross that line, then you could be there. If not, you'll probably get replaced and have to resign. That's my opinion. That's based on literal reality. So, you know, everyone kind of knows it. Is what it is. I can't say on a college campus, I want to be the president of Harvard. So I don't really care whether Alan Garber or Claudine Gay leads it, because I don't even know what their platform is or what they're going to do. So I'm just reporting on it. As far as like American schools and stuff, I would say I wish they had a better curriculum. I think this country's literally gone insane. But I would argue, and this is actually, if journalists actually listen to me, I believe they would like me, because this might be unpopular. I mean, I don't agree with what's going on in Israel and Palestine. I think it's insane. Honestly, people are like, you're a shill, you won't talk about it. Guys, I'm not like a reporter in Gaza. I'm not going to talk about this every day for 2 years. Some people are. You could watch them. I'm not knocking it. It's just not my like profession. I don't, you know, I only know what I see online. If I really wanted to get you the truth there, I'd probably go there and then they'd probably bomb me. So I don't want to go there. But anyway, I think Israel has a right to exist. I know this will make journalists happy and people pissed off, but I'm not saying everything they're doing is right. But like, people want me to say, who am I to tell Israel or Palestine that they have no right to exist? To be honest, I think Palestine has a right to exist too. And it's not my conflict. I mean, I understand the dynamic of both of it, but I don't believe I'm important enough to tell an entire group of people that they can't have what they want. It's not really up to me. I can just tell you what's going on. And that's what it is. With that being said, in America, I believe in the First Amendment. So if Zionism is infiltrating on the First Amendment and you're allowed to speak freely, but Trump and DeSantis are passing Zionist speech laws, that's always been my point, is like, it's not that I care about your existence or what you're doing or that you shouldn't do that. I'm not telling you what to do, but this is the country that I live in, and these are politicians that I'm voting for. And I believe they're going against the First Amendment. And I don't agree with hate speech laws for certain groups of people. I think that's insane. I think that's what the left does. It's everything I oppose because it doesn't make sense. Who gets to decide what's hateful? If you say white people, cook with mayonnaise, is that hateful? Some people might not want to hear it. And I don't know why I thought of that example, but it's like, white people don't season their chicken enough, or white people can't dance, or white people are gentrifying my neighborhood and making the prices go up. Is that hateful? To some people, they might hear that and say, oh, that's really messed up. But some people might listen to that and be like, yo, that's actually true. Like when white people move into the neighborhood, the prices grow up. But it probably also gets safer. I'm just saying, like, who gets to decide what's hateful? If you say that a small percentage of the population is committing a large percentage of violent crime, is that hate speech? I'm sure they want to pass a law to make that illegal. But if you look at statistics and math and data, it's literally true. You could find other statistics that say other stuff for other races. It's just like, who gets to decide what hate speech is? That's why I oppose these hate speech laws that Trump and DeSantis and Democrats are trying to push under the guise of anti-Semitism. It's nothing to do with me hating Israel or hating a group of people. I don't hate anybody. I know that there's good people in Israel, there's good people in Palestine, and there's good people in America of all races and religions. And I would appreciate if people stopped bombing each other in Israel and Palestine and stopped stabbing each other in major cities and then lying about it. It's not fun for me. That sucks. I'd rather be at a dance party dancing with people of different ethnicities, but you can't always just dance. I got to work and pay bills like everyone else. With that being said, I don't believe in hate speech laws, but when you say that, they misconstrue it. When it comes to Harvard and these schools, I get what's going on. When it comes to politics, I get what's going on. But, when you say it, they get mad at you and nobody wants to hear it. So what's the point of even saying it? It's like, why am I going to say the hardest thing to say that gets me in the most trouble when I say it and like 90% of MAGA just drools and screams at me? It's like, oh, okay. So I don't know, lie to yourself. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. When I play basketball in the street or I play sports, I feel like this is a strong quality of me. I'm an honest person. When there's no referee watching, I'm an honest person. I say, you know what? It was out on me. It wasn't a foul. I did foul you. I'm in the minority of men. Most men lie. Most men cheat. It's anybody that plays street basketball. They know it's true. You can't play a street basketball game without somebody cheating. It's like nearly impossible. And somebody fighting and somebody lying. Why is that? And when it comes to sports or politics, why can't people just be honest with themselves? Be like, you know what? I wish the Giants didn't throw an interception because I love the Giants. But after I watched the review, I realized that they did. Most people, the 90% that says the Giants threw an interception, if the teams reversed and it was the same exact play, they would literally take the exact opposite stance. And that's what's happening in MAGA. Why does that happen? Answer the question for me. I can't understand it because I just think it's so fake. Like, I don't want to win a basketball game knowing I cheated. You get what I'm saying? I feel like a cheater. You know what I do when I play street basketball? I don't call fouls. I don't care if they smack me in the head. I don't care if they punch me in the arm. I'm not calling a foul because I don't want to hear these beta males bitching at me. So I just drive to the hoop. I let these losers foul me. And if they want to call a foul on themselves, they can call it. If not, I'll pretend like it didn't happen. I'm that guy. People might think I'm not that guy. I'm that guy. I'm not calling a foul because I don't want to hear these losers bitch and cry about it. It's like, foul me if you want. I'm still gonna make the basket. I'm gonna make you say it because I'm not arguing with you over stupid shit. If it went out on you, I'll give you the ball and you're a freaking cheater, and I'll still beat your ass by 5 points. And you cheated. Now you got to walk home realizing you cheated, you lied, you called fake fouls, and you still lost the game by 5. If it's in a league with real referees, I might play differently. But in street ball, it's like, go ahead, bro. Why do people do that? Someone said not everybody's built like me, but here's the issue in America. And men don't have honor. They don't have integrity. So they just become fans of Trump or haters of Trump, or, they watch CNN or they listen to Benny Johnson and they just become professional fans. And it's like, that's fine. But then you're going to get what you're going to get. You're not going to get results if the game is rigged and you don't want to say it is. It's like, but every side likes to complain. Then the left complains about what the right's doing, the right complains what the left's doing, and they're all the same type of hypocrites. That's why a lot of people, it's like they just become they were left-wing sycophants before, And then they come to the right and they just become right-wing sycophants, and they became the same liberal liar that they were on the Republican Party. When I was independent, I wasn't a registered Democrat my whole life or anything. It's like I wasn't like an Obama obsessor. I wasn't that person then, and I'm not that person now. I thought Obama was a puppet. I thought he was a phony, but I thought maybe he was better than Mitt Romney. I was smart enough to be like, well, Mitt Romney's full of crap. He's not good. John McCain's full of crap. He's in on it. Obama's probably in on it. He's probably a puppet of the bankers, but maybe he'll do a few good things because he seems kind of cool. That's the extent of me. I wasn't like, change is going to come. Change is coming. It's like, no, it's not, but maybe sort of, like that's kind of how I played that. When Ron Paul came around, I loved Ron Paul. I didn't know he was a Republican or a libertarian. I didn't know he was Christian. I just had good instinct, and I'm like, I like that guy. I could tell he's calling out both sides. You know what I'm saying? And that attracted me to Ron Paul. I don't think I voted. Was I even old enough to vote at the time? Probably not. But I liked Ron Paul. I wrote about it in songs. I never liked George Bush. I always made songs about like the dual party corruption. So, and everyone can change or grow. I'm not acting like I'm so special. I'm just being honest. Like I was never like a Democrat nut hugger. And when I came to the Republican Party with Trump, the fake narrative around me is like, oh, Anomaly used to wear a MAGA hat and used to be obsessed with Trump. My biggest Trump video was literally me saying, I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I voted third party. I didn't want to vote for him. I knew my vote didn't count in California, and there's no way in hell I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton because I was smart enough to never put her name down on a piece of paper, right? But I knew I lived in California. I'm not stupid. I know my vote doesn't count. It like literally doesn't count. If I vote for Trump or Hillary, it comes down to like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Florida. It doesn't come down to my vote in California. Democrats win by 60 points. So it's like, I knew even then it didn't even matter. If I would have lived in a swing state, there was a chance I was going to vote for Trump. But I was like, maybe I'm not even joking, guys. I said, maybe I could get one of the third parties to 15%. And if they get to a high enough percentage and they poll high enough, they get to be in the next primary debate. So, or presidential debate. If you can get an independent or a libertarian or a green party to a certain level, then they get to go in the next debate. So it's like even my biggest video supporting Trump said I'm not like a sycophant supporter. That's always been my angle. That's why I've been so successful. I made a song called I Like Trump because I liked Trump, and everybody in the music industry that I could give two shits about, I never cared what they thought. I never cared what I would lose. I didn't want to impress anybody. I don't need their help. I'm not a victim. They didn't hurt me. I don't need a speaking gig because they were mean to me. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about my music. I had the internet. I've been well known for my music since I was 18 years old without anyone's help. But in general, I made the song because I liked Trump, and everyone kept saying you can't. And it was like my pushing back. I like Trump. I don't really give a, and I explained it. And a lot of those lyrics are still good. I said in this one, and this was like way before Kanye was ranting about the other stuff when he was just wearing a MAGA hat. I said, Kanye be trying to tell you the truth. And the people just slashed him. Whatever happened to Prince, Dick Gregory, Michael Jackson, Dr. Sebi, Michael Jackson? I like Trump. That's a fire line. Tried to tell you the truth, and the critics just slashed him. Whatever happened to Prince, Dick Gregory, Dr. Sebi, Michael Jackson? I like that's a great line. I'm just filled with it's anyway. That's what it was. And then, in 2019, he did some whack stuff, and I was like, that kind of sucks. And then 2020, he did way more whack stuff, and then I just started reporting what I actually thought, not what another man told me to think. And then everyone got mad at me, and they're like, "Oh, you like Bernie Sanders?" And it's like, yeah, but Trump is going more socialist than Bernie Sanders. And I never liked Bernie Sanders because of his economic policy. I just was 25 and I bought into him. Like, it's the same thing with Trump. Honestly, Trump is like a slightly better right-wing version of Bernie Sanders. He claims to fight the political establishment, and then he hires the political establishment. It's the same reason I like Trump. It's like, I don't give a shit about either party. They're both fake. One side is a little better, I guess, but not even really. And Bernie Sanders came out and it's like, the 1%. Oh, and I was broke. So I'm like, yo, for sure, I'm broke. Yeah, give me your money or whatever. And it's like, 25, I'm not even paying for my health care. The 1%, I'm going to be the political establishment. Hillary Clinton is corrupt. Hillary Clinton is corrupt. Hillary Clinton is corrupt. And I'm like, for sure, Hillary Clinton is very corrupt, I think. I assume. And then it's like, and then Bernie's like, okay, everybody vote for Hillary Clinton. And I'm like, all right. So that was a fake political establishment funnel to the political establishment. It didn't take me very long to figure that out. I gave Bernie like 5 months to prove he was different. He wasn't different. And then I just dropped him like a sack of potatoes. I didn't turn on Bernie Sanders. He turned on me. And here's the thing about Bernie. You can go back 5 years, 6 years, 2015. He was on CNN speaking the truth. He said H-1B visas were bad for American workers. He said that we should limit the even legal migration because it was bad for American workers. He used to be further right on economic job policies in some cases than Trump. It's just like Trump. He said things and did other things. Bernie used to do some cool things and some not cool things. But anyway, he totally turned. And I'm not loyal to a politician. I'm loyal to what I actually believe, my family and my country. So then I dropped Bernie like a sack of potatoes. And also I was 25, not in my 50s like Carrie Lake and Donald Trump, voting for Hillary or donating to them. But anyway, so then Trump came around and he did like the same thing. It just took longer. It's like, I'm going to fight the political establishment. Oh, let's go. I'm going to drain the swamp. Let's go. I'm going to not take donor money because that's how they buy out politicians. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? That like banger, banger, banger. And then he did none of those things. He said he was going to lock Hillary up, gave her a standing ovation, said he wouldn't take money, took all the money, said he was going to drain the swamp. He literally hired the swamp. If I debated a Trump supporter, and I'm not saying like all these low IQ dumbbells that they're like on Instagram, like, oh, Anomaly doesn't know what he's talking about. If we had a conversation, I'd make you drool out of your mouth and look like a kindergartner. And you have the personality of a wet pretzel. That joke I just made about a wet pretzel is literally funnier than anything you've ever said. So let's not talk. But in general, if we had a debate with these people, they would just not even know what to say. I would be like, all right, he hired the swamp. And it's like, name 4 people that he hired that weren't swampers. Because I could go through his whole cabinet. His FDA was a Pfizer guy who was a pharmaceutical person who I believe was hired by establishment politicians years ago. His HHS director was an Eli Lilly executive / pharmacy lobbyist. His secretary of transportation was Mitch McConnell's wife. His secretary of state was Mike Pompeo, who literally apparently tried to kill Julian Assange, who Trump basically won the election. It's like, name 5. They can't even name 5 people in his cabinet that weren't swampers. But then it's like, they'll be like, well, he listened to his advisors. If I listen to advisors, hey guys, I didn't mean to lie to you for the last 10 years. I was listening to my script writers who wrote bad scripts for me. Then I'm an idiot. Do you get it? I write my own scripts. I understand politics, you have to delegate. But if you hire 98% of bad employees and your company ends up in a lockdown and a vaccine scam, it's your fault. You're the CEO. You get what I'm saying? It's like, listening to people means you're an idiot. Like, hey, why'd you jump off the bridge and kill yourself in the San Francisco lake? Oh, I listened to my advisors. Is that your fault? No, I listened. Why are you like? It's literally, my mom used to say this when I was a kid. She used to said, if these kids say jump off a bridge, are you going to listen to them? I don't know if my mom, I think that's an old phrase that everyone used to say, but like, she'd always tell me, don't be a follower. My mom's awesome. Don't be a follower. Like if kids do stupid crap, like they always do, she goes, you're smarter than that. If they say to jump in a lake, are you going to jump in a lake or jump off a bridge? She used to always say that to me. And that's literally like politics. It's like a politician jumps off a bridge and everyone's like, well, I'm jumping off too. People are such followers. And then when you don't jump, you're like, that's a bad idea. It's like, well, he listened to his advisors. He got fooled by his advisors and I got fooled by him. It's like, well, then you're all fools. Like everybody makes mistakes. Everyone gets tricked sometimes. But if you get tricked 10,000 times, then you're not a good leader. And if you're still lying, like people are like, he made a mistake. It's like a mistake is like when, like, for example, Ron DeSantis, I'm not saying maybe he just lied, but he made a U-turn. He hired Joseph Ladapo for Surgeon General. Like Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo is a better hire than anyone Trump's ever hired. Like he's more ethical and more reasonable and more for the people than anyone Trump hired. That shows that you learned a lesson and you're going in the other direction, right? Okay, I made a mistake for 3 months. I made a mistake for a few years. Now I'm going that way. Trump's still going in the same exact direction, saying the same exact stuff, repeating the same exact lies. It's not a mistake. It's just who he is. And he knows that you guys don't care. Like the funniest comment I ever get is when people comment and they go, he should really stop lying about that, or he should really change his tune. I disagree. I don't think that Trump should. Why? Like or they'll say he has to. Trump has to change. No, he definitely doesn't. Like why? Like Why would he? I kind of hope he doesn't, and he keeps scamming people. Like, if they're that stupid or they're that weak and all these men are that cowardly and pathetic, why does he have to change his tune? Is he losing the primary? No, he's winning by 50 points. He's the front runner for the election. He doesn't have to change anything. Like, you don't demand anything. He has no incentive to change. He has no reason to change. There's no one punishing him in any sort of way for any of the bad stuff. They only punish him for the good stuff he does. So it's like, he absolutely does not have to do anything different. Like, because you guys just sit there and clap like seals. It's crazy. I'm going to read a few comments, but I wanted to say, when people hear this stuff, I know I've said this in the past, but it's like the most important point, because and this is the only reason I'm repeating it. It's the number one thing I read. I wish I never read it again and I would never talk about it again, but I've read it probably, and it actually kind of drives me nuts. So I got to stop reading stuff. I've read it probably 10 times a day for the past 3 years. Every time I do reporting that people don't want to hear. Like, if Trump says Sweden should lock down and I say that's not a good idea, they're like, well, what else do we do? What's your solution? Who do you think you are? Who you think you're perfect? It's like, I never said that. It's literally equivalent to telling a 5-year-old, like my mom did, don't listen to your friends if they do stupid stuff. If they jump off a bridge, you don't jump off a bridge. That's what my mom taught me. Maybe that's part of the reason why I am the way I am. Don't follow people that are doing stupid crap, because a lot of people do stupid crap. Be yourself. Be the man I'm raising you to be. Don't be who all your dumb friends are. She'd tell me that 1,000 times and it stuck with me. Love my mom. Anyway, it's like, if Trump's telling Sweden to jump off a cliff and I'm telling Sweden to not jump off a cliff, and you're like, oh, you think you're so perfect. All I hear, I don't care how strong you are or how cool you look, I hear beta, 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 beta. That's all I hear. Like, he's telling a country to jump off a bridge. I'm saying it's a bad idea to jump off a bridge. And you're sitting there screeching like an animal. It's pathetic. Like, I look at these men and I'm like, you are so pathetic. I'm glad other people don't think you're pathetic, because, I'm glad you live a good life or whatever. But like, I'm looking at you like, I don't understand the dynamic of the situation. Like, I'm a man. I'm an American. I'm not pathetic. I'm the main character in my life. I could still vote. It's not like I'm going to sit and not vote. I might not vote in the primary because I don't really give a crap. But in the general, I'm going to vote. But it doesn't end with my vote. I don't vote and just sit there and go, oh, everything I want's going to happen, and I'm going to yell at people when it doesn't. It's like, that's pathetic. And that's why America's falling. Some of the most pathetic Republicans just sit and make fun of liberals all day because it makes them feel good, but they're really not who they say they are. And it's like, it is what it is. I'm just saying, like, as a man, your job is not to lie to yourself and jump off a cliff and make stupid excuses. Like, that's why these things happen. The left knows there's no consequences for the nonsense they do. And Trump knows there's no consequences for selling you guys out. There's no consequences. So they keep doing it. And they should keep doing it. You're not a victim. I'm not a victim. White people are not victims. Christians are not victims. Americans are not victims. Conservatives are not victims. This collapse is being earned. You don't just get a good society because of the color of your skin, or because it used to be good, or because people used to know stuff. If you're too fake, stupid, and weak right now to figure this stuff out, and your movement's too fake, stupid, and weak to figure it out right now, you deserve collapse. You deserve failure. I don't think I'm a victim to the people that constantly lie about me in the press and say I'm being hateful even though I'm honest. I'm not a victim. I'm being honest. I'm being brave. I'm being truthful. And I'm left out like a sitting duck because 99% of people are either too fake or stupid to say anything. So that's why society fails, because everybody's a coward. Everybody's a team player of a team that doesn't give two craps about them. So it's like, now, for one thing that attracted me to the right, besides almost everything once I hit a certain age, was the non-victim mentality. Because I knew before I got into Christianity again and politics, I knew about mindset. I knew about spirituality. I knew that the way, because I did it for myself, to change your life was to change your mind and to change your perception and to be grateful and be appreciative and be strong-minded. I did it. I went from nothing to making something of myself because I had a mental change. So I knew that the left was lying about being a victim and feeling bad for yourself, because it was the exact opposite of what changed my entire life before I was even conservative or whatever. So when conservatives started saying this stuff, I'm like, holy crap. that's the right message. That's a good message. It's even in some ways a liberal message. It's like, it's a great message to not play the victim. And then after 5 years of these doofuses telling liberals not to play the victim, all they do is play the victim. Trump's the victim of the election. Trump's the victim of this. Trump's the victim of that. And then you listen to Trump and it's like, he's a clown. It's like, why didn't you hand over the files out of Mar-a-Lago? And he's like, oh, I was busy. Oh, I was traveling. And it's like, bro, if the feds are telling you to hand something over and you have a month and you don't hand them over to the feds, it's almost like you want them to do that. Like, I wouldn't even be shocked if he wants them to do all this stuff. So he can be like, oh my gosh, my mugshot. Oh my gosh, my mugshot is on an NFT. Oh my gosh, I just made $50 million from my mugshot. Oh my gosh, I just showed my shoot for $100,000. Like, it doesn't seem to me like he even cares about getting persecuted, because his entire movement is about him being the victim. So it's like all Republicans says, oh, the election was taken. No, Republicans handed the election to Democrats on a silver platter. Republicans handed the country to the pharmaceutical industry. Republicans handed the country to all the people they claim to hate. The Republicans hired all the people that they claim are persecuting you in the intelligence community. These are Trump hires. And to be quite frank, Trump is talking about building them a new building. Like, your reality of like, they're fighting so hard for you, they literally don't care. They're literally controlled opposition. They're literally telling you every day. And you're like, but we're the victim now. We're the victim of the election that Trump mysteriously signed the CARES Act to give them all the money and power to do the mass mail-in ballots. But we, the MAGA movement, have no self-awareness and no self-accountability. All we do is play the victim and blame other people. And when our guy fumbles the ball, we blame someone else, or we say that someone told him to fumble the ball, but it's not his responsibility. It's the people who told him to do what he did. He has no responsibility. He's so smart, but he's so foolish. He never gets tricked, but he always gets tricked. It's like the whole movement has devolved into this sloppy, controlled opposition, fake, phony, victim mentality, brainwashed, like mind-numbing content of just saying stupid shit that doesn't even make sense, saying the 5 phrases on loop without analyzing them at all to take even an ounce of self-accountability for all the interceptions thrown to the Democrats to allow them to take it from you. It's like, it's been years now. I want nothing to do with the movement, because it's like, and on a note that's even more serious, like, the truth, just like I know that Trump supporters and everything say, oh, the feds are biased. And it's like, they almost definitely are. I mean, I hope that they're not, but they almost probably are biased. I mean, that seems pretty clear, but maybe not. But if I were a betting man, I'd be like, yes, they're biased against Christians and conservatives and everything. But in general, as they're talking about their bias, they're trying to build them a new building. And then I want to bring up some other point, because I was going to get to something else. But when I brought up that corporations gave Trump $100 million plus for his inauguration, Pfizer, Bank of America, Dow, all these companies, this guy is like, oh, you're not being honest about how they gave him the money. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, they gave it for his inauguration. You think Pfizer gives a shit about Trump's inauguration? Are you stupid? You know what Pfizer's also doing? They're building a new building for Kentucky Republicans, because they're breaking a loophole of like lobbying money. There's some weird loophole that they can't just outright give them the money. So they're building Kentucky Republicans a new building. You think Pfizer's just really into building buildings? Excuse my language. Are you fucking stupid? Yeah. Oh, God, Anomaly, you're being dishonest. Pfizer's not giving Mitch McConnell money. He's just building them a new building because they're just really into Lego sets, and they thought maybe they'd take their skills to a bigger platform. No, they're building the building for a loophole to give them money to buy influence. They don't just give, corporations don't just give hundreds of millions of dollars to Donald Trump's inaugurations because they really just want him to have a good time with Melania. Are you fucking stupid? Are people this dumb? And if people are this dumb, then dumb people get dumb results. Like, like you want a good country, but you're too stupid to even figure that out. But you complain about Benny Johnson tweets. So you think you are beating up the left in your head? Like, it's all so dumb. Like, people get mad when I point this stuff out, and they literally think that Pfizer's just buying stuff for Republicans just to help them out. Like, it's so dumb. So dumb. But the point I was getting to is I do believe that the feds are out to get a lot of people. And I do believe that they've overstepped their boundaries and gone too far. Everything's extremism to them. If you're walking down the street whistling, enjoying your life, and not committing crimes like most of the country right now, they seem more interested in that listen, with January 6th, some people did some stupid crap. Some people did some illegal crap. It isn't this like infiltration thing that they need to spend 50 years about. San Francisco's turning to shit. Los Angeles is turning to shit. The entire country is turning to shit. Maybe the feds should spend more time on that. The whole country's turning to shit. No major city is even safe anymore. This country sucks now. Like, focus on that, not a bunch of dingbat QAnon supporters that got psyoped into like shitting their pants at the Capitol thinking Donald Trump was going to like arrest Nancy Pelosi in an underwater space bubble. Like, you know, these people are not the brightest bulbs in the box, but at the same time, they're not all terrorists. Like 99% of people there are just like following the crowd, you know. But in general, the feds are, in my view, overstepping. So if they're overstepping, don't you want to act smart? This is one of my biggest beefs with the MAGA movement. I can't tell the difference between a Fed and a lot of these Trump supporters because they act like Feds. Like, they talk like Feds. It's like, are you a Fed? Possibly. Or are you trying to get set up by that? Like, you know, they're just like, all right, revolution, right? And they're just like spouting things. They're like, do you want any calculation of what you're doing? You're like, January. It's like, you know, think about what you're doing, because they are trying to make you look stupid and look like you're doing something. So like, some people are like, I'm pissed off. I want to, we need to go up in arms. Like, where are you going? Are you going to go to Tim Pool's house where he makes $10,000 in super chats so he can pretend like there's a civil war? The real civil war is Tim taking off his beanie and just showing off his real head. Like, that's the civil war. It's internal. You know, you just need to like stop getting lied to. If you can't even like, if you get mad that I point out that corporations are buying out both parties, who are you going to fight in the streets? Like, you're not fighting anybody. Maine's not going down to Texas. Austin's not going to Fort Worth. You're not fighting anybody. You're going to end up at a Proud Boys versus Antifa Fed trap, and the feds will probably arrest both of you and charge the Proud Boys more than they charge Antifa. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's like the whole movement's like a Fed trap. They're like, I'm pissed off. You're pissed off because you lie to yourself every day, and you can't even face the fact that most of the influencers you listen to are stone cold liars and opportunists. So you're pissed off, so you want to do something, and the thing you want to do is to get set up by the feds. Like, get away from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, the real revolution is Tim taking his beanie off. The real revolution is him to stop being such a, you know, Napoleon syndrome prick to everybody. Like, the real revolution is conservatives realizing that their own guy sold them out last time, and he'll probably sell them out again if they don't say anything. It's like a peaceful revolution. You don't have to do anything. And I'm not just saying this. I truly believe this. Like, you're not going to outfight these people that have all your shit tracked and don't play by the rules. You're not going to like beat them up in the streets with your favorite loser influencers that won't be there. It'll be like the Trump thing where he's like, hey, Patriots, I'll meet you at the Capitol. And then he turns his car around. He's like, fucking idiots. You know, and I'm just kidding. I don't know if he did that, but it's like, I know Trump said peaceful too. I don't think Trump started an insurrection, to be clear. I just think he's a selfish leader who doesn't give a shit about anybody, who just wanted to talk and aimlessly lead his supporters in circles like he always does. I don't think he started an insurrection, but he did say, I'll meet you there. And then he's like, all right, let's go back to Mar-a-Lago. Let's fly on our jet. These dummies, you know, I got to go pardon Kodak Black and a few other people for foreign countries. You know, maybe in a few years we'll build the FBI new building so they can persecute my supporters from that shiny new building I bought that will probably get contracted to a guy who builds buildings with Trump and Kushner. What do you know? It's a joke. So if you can't even figure that stuff out, where are you fighting? Like, the fight is internal. Change your mind to change reality. What we have in this country is a bunch of soy boys on the left and a bunch of soy boys on the right pretending to be patriots. And this is coming from me, who looks like a literal soy boy. I look like I could be a barista handing soy out, but I'm actually a fantastic soccer and basketball player who's calling out every Republican influencer. Who wants that smoke? I'll beat anybody in basketball one-on-one. Let's go, boys. You know, but I look like a soy boy to some. To others, I look wildly attractive. No, I'm just kidding. But in general, it's like, I'm not out here just making fun of people. It's just like, that's what's going on in our country. And the Republicans are, oh my gosh, you know what the problem is? You know what the problem is? Iran. Iran's doing this. It's Iran. It's not Iran, you dingbats. It's literally every American company at the time. It's like the whole country's doing this to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to live in Iran, or else I'd move there. I want nothing to do with Iran, but Iran's not doing this to America. America's doing this to America. And then like the biggest joke to me is like, listen, I made fun of Travis Kelce because he's a sellout, and I don't like him anymore. I'm just being honest. Trump is more complicit with Pfizer than Travis Kelce is. So all these controlled opposition Republicans are like, oh, Travis Kelce sold out to Pfizer. And it's like, yes, Travis Kelce's, I'll never support Travis Kelce again because he sold out to Pfizer. And it's like, yeah. But I love Donald Trump. Don't question him or I'll get mad. It's like, then you're fake. You're just fake. I'm not left, right, whatever. You're fake. You're a fake person. You get what I'm saying? Trump took $1 million donation from Pfizer, hired one of their guys for FDA, hired another pharmaceutical lobbyist for HHS, met with Bill Gates in 2018, passed an executive order that matched what he told him in 2018 and 2019. In 2020, he let his pharmacy lobbyist that he put in charge of the government declare the emergency, which is a higher level than Fauci. And with the emergency, they shielded Big Pharma from liabilities for side effects, injuries, and deaths under the emergency. He gave $18 billion to Big Pharma under Operation Warp Speed. Moderna owns a joint patent with the government, apparently under the Moderna vaccine. They're suing Pfizer in court, or they tried to sue Pfizer. So it's literally a socialist vaccine where the only company that I don't even think Pfizer took Operation Warp Speed money. So the government owned one is trying to sue them. And then Pfizer gets 100 million doses bought by Trump and then 100 million more bought by Biden, which is all socialism. Are you going to talk about that? No. Then who cares what you say about Travis Kelce? Because you're literally just a controlled opposition dingbat. Your entire existence is to rot the brains of Republicans. That's what people like Benny Johnson are doing. Rotting the brains of Republicans. Rotting. 3 years later, they all come to my comment section. They don't know anything because they don't listen to me and they listen to these other dingbats and their brains are literally rotting and just melting. It's like, if you care about pharmaceutical corruption and people selling out to them, I know what Travis Kelce is doing is wicked and it's comparable, but what Trump did is 5 times worse and 5 times more complicit. And there is no Travis Kelce Pfizer commercial if Trump does the job of somebody who's not sold out to the pharmaceutical industry. So it's like, that's the MAGA movement. It's literally just a controlled opposition clown show humiliation ritual. Here's the problem. Let's point to an athlete doing it, but not our guy who did it 10 times as much. But we're going to get mad at Anomaly. Yeah, all you fake conservative, fake patriot soy boys, you're all mad at Anomaly. You're all talking trash about Anomaly. You know why? Because your brain is like a peanut compared to mine. I'll make you look like a drooling toddler in a debate. Your best video is probably dumber than the worst video I've made this year. My worst, most unhinged video is probably in your Hall of Fame. If you could take my worst top 50 video and put it as one of yours, it's the best thing you've ever done. So let's not talk about Anomaly because your brains are too small, or you're too fake, or you're too weak, or you're too pathetic, or you're too, not honest. You don't have enough honor to do what I do and say what I say. So let's not play these games, I talked to somebody that I know today that I love, and they're like, "Oh, this guy that I follow that's conservative posted your video and said, I know he hates Trump, but I don't understand where he's going." Can you say something about it? Where am I going? I'm proving the point that you guys all mock left-wingers when they sell out to the pharmaceutical industry, but you don't say anything when your guy does it. So it doesn't matter what you say. And to be honest, this is my point too, when it comes to, just to take it back home, when it comes to the MAGA agenda, like when that's what they said, MAGA agenda, 71% of people think that MAGA is above Trump. It's not Trump and his supporters. 71% of people on my Twitter said it's not MAGA is not Trump and his supporters. MAGA's above him. It's not. It's his phrase, his term, his hat, his political slogan, his movement. He's absolutely the leader. And most people in MAGA would agree with me. Everyone knows that. But apparently not, because people are like, it's bigger than. It's not bigger than him. He is MAGA. So that's my issue. What does Make America Great Again mean to me? I could write an article about it, but it's like when Green Day says MAGA agenda, first of all, their original lyric was redneck agenda. They're liberal. They've always been leftist. They've always been against the Republicans. They're just rehashing an old song with a new, but people are like, oh, they're against the Trump. Oh, they're pro-establishment. Trump is pro-establishment though. I'm sure Green Day doesn't have that insightful of a thought process on left and right and Biden. I'm not saying they're like geniuses of politics. They probably just said something generic and have not that much to add. But in general, it's like, now you guys are saying that if you're against Trump, that means you're pro-establishment. That's not necessarily true. Trump is pro-establishment. He hired the establishment. He took money from the establishment. He sold his cabinet out to the establishment. And then at crunch time for America, Trump was trying to get European countries like Sweden to lock down like America, has never admitted his mistake, has only doubled down and lied more deceivingly about the vaccine than Bill Gates has. You could watch Bill Gates interviews where he talks about flaws of the vaccine. Donald Trump says it's the greatest human achievement in modern history. He's a stone cold liar. He's a con man. And you guys suck it up. You know, you got grown men that would literally like suck the dirt off his shoes before they ever stood up for themselves. These are not men, in my opinion. I look at them and I'm like, you're embarrassing. You're embarrassing me, and I'm not even you. So in general, the point that I'm making is that, you know, it's fine to criticize Green Day like that, but just because they said MAGA agenda, you're like, oh, if you're against Trump, you're with Raytheon. You mean the same Raytheon that Trump literally gave the Pentagon to? He hired a Raytheon lobbyist to run the Pentagon. So if you're against Trump hiring Raytheon to run the Pentagon, like, you're not anti-Raytheon. Oh, we're MAGA. We're anti-Raytheon. You literally suck off a guy who hired Raytheon to run the Pentagon. Pfizer, the Green Day is Pfizer. Trump literally bought hundreds of millions of doses of Pfizer with government taxpayer socialist money. He's done more for Pfizer than Travis Kelce and Green Day combined. It's like, it's a joke. You're BlackRock. Trump put Larry Fink in his advisor board. And here's the thing, BlackRock like owns the country, so you're not going to be the president without meeting with BlackRock. So I'm not necessarily like bashing him that hard for that. I'm just proving that all of the things that you say that Green Day is doing, I bet you Donald Trump has had more meetings at BlackRock and done more things for BlackRock than all three members of Green Day combined. I'm just being honest. It's like, make fun of them, but none of your making fun of stuff makes sense because you're the joke. You're just as fake as Green Day. At least Green Day makes good music. You know what I'm saying? What do? You literally just slobber over another guy and have no personality of yourself. These idiot conservatives that put my name in their mouth, they have the personality of a wet, sloppy pretzel that fell into the freaking toilet bowl and got lost there for 3 days. Like, don't talk about me, or do, and say to my face. So I said, Anomaly, you have changed a lot. You have gone from a Trump supporter to talking down about Trump, talk about the real evil of Biden and what they're doing to the world. First of all, if you watch all my videos, I never defined myself as a Trump supporter. I was always trying to be a journalist who literally just told the truth. And I'm like, he's doing a good job. I'm going to vote for him next time. I'm voting all Republican. But I've never said, I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a Trump supporter. That's never what I did. And that's the whole reason my videos always worked in favor of Trump. I've met lots of people that said, my parents went from Democrats to Republicans because of your video. Do you know why my video worked? Because I didn't say, MAGA, 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 MAGA. I'm a Trump supporter. I said, I didn't vote for Trump the first time. I didn't even like him at first. Here's why he's not that bad. Here's what he's doing. I always did that. I was never who you thought I was. And that's why they worked. And then I'm not hating on him or putting him down. I'm telling you the truth of how politics works. You don't get it. You're like, just talk about Biden. Why? So your wet pretzel brain can feel justified and you can get angry at Tim Pool's Beanie podcast where he won't take it off, but he wants to start a civil war because he doesn't want to show his balding. It's like, where are you going with that? Talk about Biden so I feel justified. You know, a lot of Biden's cabinets are just Trump holdovers because Trump hired the same people that he hires. I mean, I'm going to probably vote for Trump because at the end of the day, Biden's border policy sucks. You want me to talk about Biden? His border policy is insane. It's the Democrats playing chess and Republicans play checkers. Democrats know what they're doing and Republicans just sit on their ass and take donor money and sell you out. And then you want to hear about Biden. I'll probably vote for that loser Trump because, you know, he's got to do a better border policy. I think that's one of the things he pretty much has to do. If he gets in charge, he needs to finish the wall, build, like, it doesn't even make sense, dude. It's like there's holes in the wall. Dude, you could build an entire apartment complex in like a year. You know what I'm saying? You see like sticks the next year, you see like a high rise. They can't fix a freaking wall. They just leave it open. But in general, it's like he's got to build the wall. He's got to actually deport people and he's got to like actually do something, you know? So that's why I would vote for Trump over Biden at this point. To me, the border policy of Biden is one of the worst things ever. He's letting millions of people in. It's absolutely insane. And this whole country is gonna go nuts in like 5 years at this rate. So I'll vote for Trump. I hope he deports people and builds a wall. deports illegal people, not legal people. And it's not because I hate illegals. I like most illegals, to be honest. I think they're good people. It's just like you can't let 40,000 people in. Like, imagine if Mexico's border was open and they just let like 40 million Venezuelans in over the course of 10 years, their whole country would be fried. Like, look at Eric Adams and the guy from Chicago. They're crying. They're like, my economy, I have no money. It's like, yeah, dumbass, because you can't just leave a border. You can't get 40. You have 40,000 people. You're crying. Well, imagine if you had 4 million people. Now you know what it's like to be Texas or Arizona over the last course of the years. How many millions? But anyway, you get what I'm saying. I think that Trump will do something about the border. I know he'll do at least bare minimum, and that's enough because I don't expect anything from him. But I'll vote for him. I'm not hating him. I'm just being honest about it. But it's like if you run and you say you're going to do all these things and you do a few things, but then you end up colluding with big pharma and Democrats, locking the country down, imploding the economy, and printing a bunch of money to give to the vaccine industry, you're not really better than Democrats. Like this idea that Trump's first term was so amazing is literally a hallucination from people who don't live in reality. The first 3 years of Trump were really good. I'd give it an A+, an A. The last year was an F-, and it unraveled almost everything good Trump ever did. And we lost more civil liberties, and Trump's running around saying that Sweden should lock down. Like, he didn't do a good job. He did a good job the first 3 years. And that's the difference between me in 2018 and me in 2020 is he was a good president those 3 years. And then he became probably one of the worst presidents in modern history, rivaled only maybe by the other old geriatric guy who took over the country after. It's like, I don't consider the first 4 years of Trump a success. I consider it one of the biggest failures in modern history. His involvement, and the thing is, when he was doing all this stuff, he was like smiling with Gavin Newsom, who he's friends with, and Phil Murphy. Like, they're not fighting, they're friends. Like, all this, like, we're beating up the left in our head. It's not even real. It's literally just a Benny Johnson meme. You guys, like, listen to Trump talk about Gavin Newsom. Trump has more respect for Gavin Newsom than he has for his supporters, Ron DeSantis and Thomas Massie combined. Trump tried to kick Thomas Massie out of the party, and he's the only good Republican we have. And when Trump talks about Gavin Newsom, he's like, I can't hit Gavin Newsom because he's so nice to me. He's always so kind. He was so nice to me. Yeah, dumbass, because during the pandemic, you gave him all the things that he needed to scam you and scam everyone. So once he got all the stuff, he turned on you because it's just a joke. Like, everybody knows you're easy to play. You're like a fiddle, so he played you like a fiddle. Of course he was nice to you. He got socialism, communism, money, power, control, all sorts of executive power. And then, just like everyone else, he laughed in your face. It's like this movement is a joke. And I think a lot of people that don't think anymore, they think that like a lot of stuff that they say about the left isn't also true about them. And here's one thing too. It's like, when you get in the minds of people that like Biden over Trump, I'm not one of them. You have to understand, if it's Trump versus Biden, I'm going to vote for Trump. Even though so many things disgust me, I really despise a lot of things he's done. And I think he's a total con man. And I really wish his supporters wake up. With that being said, the border under Biden is insane. And I do think Trump will do something about that. Even at bare minimum, he'll do better. So that's what I'm voting on, and a few other things. But really, I have no hopes for Trump in literally any other category. I don't think anything else about him is going to pan out, but I hope it does. Anyway, so I will vote for Trump, okay, over Biden. But I understand why other people won't. Like, everyone goes, well, Biden's so old. You're not running a spring chicken. Guys, everybody's trying to cover up how old Trump is. I'll still vote for him, but he's 77 years old. He looks old as shit. He doesn't sound like he did 5 years ago. He has a lot of energy, but he sounds like a grandpa repeating big pharma tales to his grandsons. The same story every day. It's like he just like aimlessly attacks people just like over the pettiest stuff. I don't mind him attacking people when they do stupid crap. I'd be like, Chip Roy, you don't love me enough. Thomas Massie, It's like, shut up, dude. He's annoying as shit. So it's like, you make fun of Biden for being really old, which is understandable because he is really old. So your resolution for that is to hire another really old guy. You look like idiots. Like, you don't get at least he's 50. It's like, no, Trump's 77. He's not that much younger than Biden. Yes, he's better than him, but like, it's not by a huge margin, I don't think, when it comes to like how old he is. So that complaint literally means nothing now. You can't really use that for the election. Like, it works in MAGA world. Everyone's like, yeah, Biden's so old. Trump is also so old. Like, you've lost that talking point. Okay. And then in general, it's like, what else? It's like, well, Biden did this and that, and he's a jerk. It's like, Biden is a jerk. Biden sucks. What he said during the pandemic was insane. But Biden also does fake like nice sometimes, and he'll be like, oh, and he acts like he's Christian, even though he's a phony. And Trump, he doesn't act that way. Like, Trump acts like an idiot. So it's like a lot of people see that and they don't want that. I'm not going to be that person, but they're like, that guy's annoying. He's just, and I don't, it's not because he said grab him by the blank 50 years ago. I don't care, honestly. It's like, that's all like rehashed drama. I'm talking about how he acts every day. Like, as somebody that used to love him, he is really annoying. So it's like, I understand why people are really annoyed by him. Like, he's super annoying. And then it's like, I talked to some younger people like in their 20s, and I was trying to get the pulse of like how 20-year-olds feel. I'm not saying they're all the same, but like most of the 20-year-olds are liberal, right? They're liberal, and their middle is further left than my middle was when I was in my 20s. So you're like, oh, they're based. No, they're not. But also, like, what's normal and like moderate to a 20-year-old is far left. Like, they're so far left that they're like, oh, I don't pay attention to politics, but they don't even know how far left they are, because it's the world they grew up in, and that's what they were taught, and it's everything that they consume. So anyway, I was trying to get the vibe on like, like, are you guys going to vote for Trump and Biden? And I'm not saying this is everybody, but the thing that I got talking to some people, and this is only like an anecdote, it seemed like a lot of the 20-year-olds, it's not that they like Biden, because nobody likes Joe Biden. I think the amount of 20-year-olds that like Joe Biden is astronomically small. And the amount of 20-year-olds that like Trump is small too. But the thing is, I do think that people don't like Trump because they remember all the drama. Like, and I'm not saying, for those who are going to freak out, I'm not saying this is me. I'm just like trying to figure out how other people feel, because in order to win an election, you got to get more than just your supporters. And it seems like they don't want Trump back because it's just exhausting. Like, the way the media acts, the way he acts, it's not all his fault or anything. It's just like, they're like, I don't want to relive, like, whatever that was, I want to put it in the past, And the thing with the Republican Party is like, Trump is 77, Biden's 81. You didn't have to pick Trump again. Like, if Trump wins the primary, like, you chose that guy. You chose the guy that everybody was tired of. You chose the guy that people have bad memories of. You chose the guy that's a shell of who he once was, that constantly just like makes more problems for himself by like spouting out. It's like Chris Sununu, this person, that person. Like, he doesn't even like bitch about normal things. He bitches about like random, like petty things. Like, oh, they didn't. It's like, whatever, dude. So, a lot of people are phased out. And then I hear this, and once again, for those who are slow here, I'm going to vote for Trump over Biden. But you got to get out of your own head in order to get other votes, to get other people to like you, right? One of the talking points I hear is like, Biden's not popular. True. Biden doesn't fill stadiums. Also true. But here's the thing. Taylor Swift fills stadiums and tells all her supporters to vote for Democrats. Beyonce fills stadiums and tells people to vote for Democrats. Jay-Z fills stadiums and tells people to vote for Democrats. LeBron, fills stadiums and tells people to vote for Democrats. Just because you fill a stadium doesn't mean you're going to get all the votes. It's not about what musicians say or even like your own supporters. It's like, there's going to be tens of millions of people who literally vote for Biden that would never go to a Biden concert because they don't really like Biden that much, because they're not obsessed with him like a Taylor Swift fan. The fact that there's millions or tens of millions of people that are obsessed with Trump like Taylor Swift fans, I'm not knocking it, because at one point I was fringing on the lines of almost being that type of person. But in general, it's like that, like, you don't understand that doesn't matter. Like, yeah, that's cool, but it's like, we filled, 5,000 people in Iowa. Well, great. There's millions of people in that state. And just because you filled 20,000 people in a field, it doesn't mean that there's not that many people sitting at home watching CNN. Like, there are, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I drive through certain suburbs in certain areas, I see Biden signs. I'm shocked by it. I'm like, why are there Biden signs? But like, Democrats exist. Like, Biden, not supporters, but people that hate Trump exist. And it's like, just because you could fill an area doesn't mean that the other person has no chance. Like, it's not a sports game to everybody. They're just voting for the person they slightly like better. And in some cases, they're voting for the person that they hate less. Someone says he's Trump bashing. Why? You're perceiving basic psychology and election psychology as bashing, because it's like, 5 layers above like the low tier MAGA slop that you usually get. For the last couple of minutes, I'm not bashing, I'm just talking. But you just want to hear people that say what you want to hear, which is why your group of people is shrinking smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and getting more and more insane, and nobody likes it anymore. So it's like, that's fine. There's a place for that. I'm just analyzing it. And I'm going to say this again, because I do think this could help people. And by the way, I'm doing like more consulting this year because politics annoys me. So I want to help people with their businesses. But when you're doing advertising, this is why I'm so good at what I do. And I'm not bragging, but I am bragging. So I guess I'll take that back. But, I've gotten, this is just true, I've gotten 1 billion views, 1 billion with no budget. Nobody, I'm in the 0.00001 percentile of social media influencers. And if you consider the fact that I have like no budget and 95% of those people in my field have massive budgets, in some cases $1 million budgets, it's astronomical what I've been able to achieve. How have I done it? With no budget, with no corporation. If you look at certain people at Daily Wire, they have a machine behind them. They have ads every day. They're spending millions of dollars. They're doing movies. Nothing wrong with it. They seem like nice people, some of them not so much. But in general, how am I able to compete with them with none of that? I'm good at advertising. I'm good at psychology. I'm good at content creation. My authenticity, I believe, throws me over the boundary that makes it believable. In general, when you make a video, like if I make a video and I want to win an election, I'm not making a video for Trump supporters. Even when I liked Trump, I wasn't tailoring my video to Trump supporters. That's why I've never been as popular as certain people, but I've had a bigger impact. And I don't want to brag about this because I've already bragged enough. It's starting to seem douchey, but in general, people don't even realize the type of impact I have. People don't even realize how many athletes and celebrities and influencers are learning from me and studying from me and changing their reality because of me. But in general, I've had over 1 billion views with a B and billions of minutes watched. But in general, if you want to win an election, you can't just MAGA to your people. You can do that and have fun, but that's not going to get independents. That's not going to get moderates. There's certain things that are going to sway the 3% in certain states. And to be honest, I'm sure there's highly intelligent people in Trump's administration and highly intelligent people in Biden's administration that are focusing on that stuff. And if Republicans aren't doing that, they're stupid. Because convincing Trump supporters to like Trump more than they already freaking do is not going to win an election. Trying to convince people in California to vote for Trump is not going to win an election. What's going to win an election is convincing the 3% in Wisconsin, convincing 4% in Pennsylvania. That's literally the entire election is moderates, independents, Republicans, and Democrats in 5 states that swing, Florida being one of them. Just like states like that. Don't lose Georgia. You better not lose Texas, stuff like that. So how do you get people that don't already like you to vote for you? You have to think about what they want. If you're creating an ad for a watch company, you're not creating it for you. Hopefully you like your own ad. You're trying to figure out who's your target audience. What do you want? How are you going to sell it? How are you going to make them want to buy it? So it's like with the election, 95% of conservative influencers are just feeding MAGA slop. They're not interested in winning this election. They're not interested in helping you. They claim they want Trump to win, but they don't put in the work to help him win because they're basically just milking the base dry. That's not going to win an election. It's going to make them a fortune. It's going to let Charlie Kirk book them for however much money they're charging, and they're going to make a fortune off you, which is fine. Let them milk you dry. I don't care. Let people get rich. I don't care. I'm not a hater. I'm just saying that doesn't win an election. So when I look at the content of a lot of people, some people are doing a good job. Others are just milking their niche market dry. It's a smart business decision. I'm stupid with my business because I'm not making as much money as I could if I did that. And it's probably dumb business-wise, but I'm not here to just make money. I want to actually do what I believe. And if that comes at the cost of money, it is what it is. I want to win the next election and a good person to get in and them to do the right thing. So there's levels to it. If I come out in 7 months and I say, here's why I'm going to vote for Trump over Joe Biden. Here's my reasoning. it's going to have more of an impact than most of these influencers, because these influencers, they already have 99% Trump riders, where it's like, I have a lot of liberals. I have a lot of progressives. I have a lot of people on the fence. I have a lot of registered Democrats. I have a lot of independents. I have a lot of libertarians. And I have a lot of people that like DeSantis that probably hate Trump now. And even though I've bashed DeSantis and talked bad about DeSantis and said why I think he sold out and why I probably won't vote for him, DeSantis people still listen to me because they know I'm honest. They're like, I don't agree with Anomaly there. I wish he liked DeSantis more. But I know that Anomaly's not full of shit like 99% of Trump supporters. So when Anomaly says something about Trump and then he says something about DeSantis, at least he really means what he's saying. At least he calls it both ways. I don't agree with him, but I know most people don't do that. So they're not picking up these crowds. They're just building an audience of everybody who already always agrees with them, which is smart business-wise. But to win an election, you have to get people who don't like Trump. You have to get people in the middle. You have to get Democrats and Republicans and progressives and libertarians. Not all of them, but some of them. And you got to think about self-accountability of like, what could we do better? You can't just play the victim, go to rallies and be like, oh, we're winning because we put 4,000 people in a, an arena with Trump. It's like 4,000 people is not going to win the election. You get what I'm saying? That's not a good strategy. But here's the thing. There's people who work for Trump that probably know this. Like there's got to be smart people in there that are figuring this stuff out. But most influencers, they're not doing that. They're just saying generic things all the time. It's not going to work. Like if I come out and say I'm actually going to vote for Trump, even though he's annoying, I guarantee you it has more impact than a lot of these other people, because, people are like, oh, that actually makes sense. That's actually a reasonable stance. He's not just a Trump dick rider. He's not just a MAGA hat, wearing like fanatic. And I don't care about MAGA hats. I think they're fine and cool, but I'm just saying, like, that's always been what I've done. And I'm just being clear, because people will be like, yes, have I changed opinions? When Trump changed, I stuck with what I believed. He went off the deep end and I just called it out. That's not my fault. But in general, you go back to 2017, 2016, 2018, 2019, when Trump supporters loved me more. I never said I was a Trump worshiper or a Trump supporter. I never wore a MAGA hat. I never just screamed his generic phrases. I always came from, I didn't even vote for him in 2016. I did vote for him in 2020. And I voted for Republicans since 2018 in all the midterms. But with that being said, that was always my angle. I was never who people thought I was or think I was. That doesn't work. That's why my videos work. That's why I've gotten over 1 billion views. That's why I have millions of followers. I don't spend money. How am I doing better than 90% of people that these corporations buy and control, yet they spend millions of dollars on them trying to make them more famous, but they can't get bigger than me? I don't care about fame. Fame is not desirable. I would say that respect, a career, having people you love around you, and to be honest, money's better than fame. It's better to be able to, give your kids and kids generational wealth than it is to like achieve fame. That's not like, but I'm just saying, like, they want attention more, but they can't even go above certain things that I've done. Look at my Instagram and look at the videos that I've done and compare it to people with millions of followers and that spend tens of thousands of dollars a month. They can't get thousands of comments on their videos. They can't get tens of thousands of shares, because you can't buy that sort of stuff. If it's not as good as what I said, if it's not as real as what I said, if I'm better than you, you can spend all the money, but you're not, people at the end of the day, they'll see it. I'm just being honest. I don't care how people perceive it. I'm just letting people know for free how it's done. So if people really want Trump to win the election, figure out how to convince people that don't already like him. If you constantly just throw people out, like if I'm like, yo, I'm going to vote for Trump, but at the same time, this is bullshit that he did. And you're like, you're a commie, like people are not going to like that. And I'll say this also, as somebody that finds a lot of the DeSantis influencers super annoying, and on certain topics, I feel like they go absolutely insane. With that being said, I think the way that Trump people have treated DeSantis people might chase away millions of votes from these people. If you would have just been honest, if you would have just been like anti-DeSantis but pro-reality, and you would have shit on them with more ethical ways, then I would be like, screw them. If they don't like you, they don't like you. But the way that Trump and his supporters ran their campaign against DeSantis was one of the slimiest, grimiest, most inauthentic things I've ever seen. And now you got all these DeSantis people, they absolutely hate you. I understand why. You didn't go and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna out truth you. Trump's better than DeSantis." You guys acted so grimy, so slimy. Like Trump was so desperate to make DeSantis look bad. He's just like, "Oh, Florida is just the hot weather," and like so now all these DeSantis people hate you, and they'll probably sit out the election. If they did that under normal terms, I would be like, "That's stupid. You shouldn't have, like that's you're being petty." But like the pettiness and the demonic energy coming from a lot of Trump people towards them for the last year, like they hate you guys, and I understand why. Me, I think DeSantis isn't legit. I think he's done a lot of cool things. I think he's a better governor than Trump ever could be. But I also don't trust DeSantis, and I think if he gets in power, he's going to pass speech laws, and he's too Nikki Haley for me, in my opinion, when it comes to like Zionist speech laws. It's like I don't believe he believes in the First Amendment. I think he prioritizes other stuff, and that creeps me out because I think the First Amendment's important. If it weren't for that stuff, I'd vote for him. But that's my line. I don't feel like voting for him or Trump in the primary because they both do that, and it's weird. But in general, I've always been fair with DeSantis. My criticisms have been fair. My compliments have been fair. When I thought I might vote for him, I was being fair. So even when I shit on DeSantis supporters, not all of them, but most of them, they respect me. They appreciate me. They're like, all right, he's doing that, but he also calls out Trump. You know, people like Vivek will say, oh, DeSantis is passing anti-Semitism speech laws. That's against the First Amendment. Correct, Vivek, but who else did that when they were in power? His name starts with D and ends with Donald Trump. Donald Trump did that. He passed an executive order, the same exact things that DeSantis is doing. But people like Vivek will only call out DeSantis. People like DC Drano will only call out DeSantis. Like, that's why the DeSantis people don't like you, is because you're total hypocrites. Like, you'll say that Vivek can't be president because he, was on the World Economic Forum website, but Donald Trump went to the World Economic Forum and said Klaus Schwab is doing a fantastic job, and you're fine with it. If that was Vivek, you would not like that. If that were DeSantis, that would disqualify him. Nobody believes you guys. Like, you're not real people. You're fake. Like, that's, so that's all I'm saying. If you really want Trump to win the election, you shouldn't have acted that psychotic and weird and fake towards DeSantis supporters. People like Tim Pool that were literally like 5 months prior being like, Trump should drop out of the race and DeSantis should run. Something I never said, by the way. Then all of a sudden he goes, I can't vote for DeSantis because he used an AI. His campaign used AI in his videos. It's like, I think it's really dumb that DeSantis' campaign did that, like an AI Fauci image or whatever. I think it's unethical. I called it out. I said it's disgraceful. But Donald Trump's campaign has done that multiple times in crazier ways and also try to pass off fake stuff as real. So that can't possibly be why Tim Pool is going to vote for Trump, because of an AI ad. Like, that's bullshit. Like, that's not at all. Just be honest. These people are not honest. So it's like, there's a lot of DeSantis people that just hate Trump supporters now because it's been like a crazy catfight for the last couple of years. There's a lot of people that voted for Trump twice that'll probably vote for Bobby Kennedy because Trump is a vaccine scammer sellout and he is completely shameless and unapologetic for him, and his supporters act like hyenas if you even bring it up. And then there's tens of millions of people that are going to sway the election that don't like Trump or Biden, and they're waiting for a bat signal to push them in one side or the other. They're waiting for someone to screw up or some event that doesn't even matter to sway their opinion. And that's how the election works. You don't win an election for Trump by just throwing meat to Trump supporters. That's not how you win Pennsylvania. That's not how you win Ohio. That's not how you win Florida. And that's not how you win any state. So that's my question. People will get so mad at me, but if I say that I'm going to vote for Trump in 5 months, that'll have more of an impact because I have way more people that aren't sycophants that actually will listen to what I say. Because if I say it, I'm going to mean it and I'm going to show why I do it. So it's like, these people are not helping Trump. They're literally just milking Trump dry. The same way these influencers are milking their base dry, they're not helping him win the election. How are you helping him win the election? You're capitalizing off of this percentage of people that obsesses over him while chasing other people further and further away that can't stand you. Like, how is that? That's not helping. And that's the same thing people on the left do. They create this false paradigm, constant left-wing, right-wing battle, and they just capitalize off the chaos. They capitalize off the controversy, and they capitalize off the false outrage, And then when the Charlottesville outrage is done and they made $100 million on it, they go to the January 6th outrage. And when the January 6th outrage is done, they make a fortune off it. And just like the left wing, they got pissed at Bud Light. First, they got pissed off at Bud Light because Bud Light was pushing trans agenda. And even though everything in the country is doing that, they pointed out Bud Light. Okay. They said they were going to boycott Bud Light. Sure. Then Republicans said, well, Bud Light donates to us, so you shouldn't, boycott our donors. And it's like, okay. And then Dana White did a deal with Bud Light and said, now the Bud Light boycott's over because they gave me money. And then, Kid Rock came out and said, I'm done with the Bud Light boycott because he's friends with Dana White and they hang out at UFC fights and Dana White's getting money from Bud Light. And now Kid Rock is like, nah, but if that never happened, they wouldn't. And then Dana White's like, you should be drinking gallons of Bud Light and, they don't owe you an apology. And it's like, they didn't pay me. If they paid me $100 million, that's Bud Light reparations. They gave you Bud Light reparations, So yeah, of course, if I got $100 million from Bud Light, I'd be like, yeah, protest is over, boys. We got our reparations. No, you got your reparations. If they didn't give Dana White the money, he wouldn't have said to end the Bud Light boycott. He doesn't care. He's not like a activist, So I'm just being honest. It's like, that's the dynamic of how certain things work. All right, I'm going to read a few comments, then I'm going to leave. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Someone said the entire right is part of the problem. They acquire every sick thing on the left. It's getting really rough. And I guess the point that I just want to rehash real quick and make before I read a few comments, I would rather Republicans win the election than Democrats at this point, even though they are getting to the point where I'm not even sure how much better they are. With that being said, you got to think outside your own head in order to be good at selling stuff, in order to be good at getting people on your side. You can't just become this movement that doesn't give a crap about anybody, because the Democrats will beat you. They know how to psychologically manipulate people. They know how to emotionally manipulate people. They know how to use events to manipulate people. And to be quite honest, they know how demographics work that Republicans can't quite figure out. So they're going to flip every state eventually. And that's probably half the reason why the border's open. So, you could pretend like you don't want it to be true because you like everybody. And I'm not asking you not to like everybody, but basic math and statistics, we have the data over the next 50 years, or last 50, 60, 70 years. It's not in your favor. It would, the odds of you being able to flip that are 5% to 95%. You're not going to win that long-term battle. So this next election, if you don't win this next election, you'll probably never win an election again, in my view, just based off the math and statistics and pattern recognition that they don't want me to have. So it's like, if Trump blows this election, which I feel like he'll probably do, hopefully not, and you guys blow the election by just being annoying and essentially blowing each other instead of trying to get people that actually like them. It's like, I'm literally probably going to vote for the guy and people are like, you're a communist. I'm a communist for pointing one thing out about him. You're taking money from, because your guy took money. You just yell hysterically at DeSantis supporters. You act like psychopaths. You just make fun of left all day with no self-accountability and no humility or double standard. All you have is double standard. How is that going to win the election? You're not trying, all these Trump supporters that say they want to win the election, they're building an economy. They don't give a shit whether Trump wins or loses. They probably do, but if he loses, they're going to be like, oh, the election was stolen. Give me $15,000 to yell this on a stage. I voted for Hillary Clinton. And I've been a leftist for 60 years of my life. And, but the election was stolen. It's like, they don't give it. You think they have a real problem doing that stuff? They love the victim card. I'm not saying they want him to lose, but it's like they have a plan when he loses. It's just to run around and play the victim and suck up your money and run you in circles. It's like, I don't want to lose. I don't want the country to fall apart. I would appreciate if people that like Trump actually thought about cohesive messages to make other people like him, rather than just freak out and lash out hysterically at people who don't act that way. All right, let me see. Someone said I got a pet chihuahua. Now it all makes sense. I don't even know what that means, but congratulations on your chihuahua. Someone said, I voted for Trump both times, will again, but we need 1,000% times Trump. He is weak and cucked. I mean, I think the main reason to vote for Trump is the border, in my opinion. Biden, his border policy is nuts. Trump, I don't know if he'll actually deport people. No, but like I feel like Trump would look ridiculous if he did not do anything. Like if he won and did the same thing he did the first time, he'd look like an idiot. And even if Trump did the same thing he did the first time, it would still be slightly better than what Biden's doing. So it's like that alone, in my opinion, is like way bigger than a lot of other topics, you know? Vivek wants to close both borders. So does Mickey Mouse, but there's something that Mickey Mouse and Vivek have in common. They're not going to be the president in 2024. So Vivek could say what he wants to say, but he's just putting on a suit and being the class president. Like he's not, you know, I like him. I wish him well, but like Vivek wants to close the borders. So my Donald Duck doll told me that too. But you know, just like Vivek, he's not going to be the president. It's going to be Biden or Trump or possibly maybe Nikki Haley or DeSantis. I don't see how, but you know, it's like Vivek puts on his little high school suit and says like, here's what I'll do when I'm president. Like, no, let's rephrase it. Let's be more honest. Here's what hopefully you'll try to get Trump to do, because your entire campaign is you just funneling people back to Trump and you riding his coattails. When he was on my podcast, he did something hilarious because his whole thing is basically like pretending like he believes all these things, but he won't ever say them about Trump because he knows that Trump supporters, he's very smart. He knows that Trump supporters will get pissed off at him, and he knows that Trump will kick him to the curb. And the way that you beat Trump is flattery. You just tell Trump what he wants to hear, and he's like a baby. With Vivek, he goes, you know, when it comes to Soros, he goes, you know, DeSantis did something with Soros, and someone else took $150 million for a loan from Soros. Like he started naming people. He said, this person, DeSantis. And then he said, and someone. And I said, who's the someone, Vivek? And he wouldn't say Trump's name. I go, it was Trump. Trump has taken $100-something million loan for George Soros for his property in Chicago. But that's how sly and slick Vivek is. He'll just say somebody because he knows if he says Trump, like DeSantis did this. Well, Trump did that to a higher extent. Well, I can't say Trump did it. I'm a phony. I mean, I'm not a phony. I'm totally authentic. I just won't tell Trump. Okay, then you're just like everyone else in the movement. We got a new Carrie Lake or whatever. It's like, you know, that's what he does. It's like, it's the same. And then he goes, DeSantis is passing a speech law. Trump also literally passed the same exact speech law through executive order, the same one. But Vivek will never say it. Just like no one will ever say it. It's like the whole movement's like a big fake. It's so funny. So long story short, I wish the guy well. It's just like when he says, when I'm president, I'll close the borders. You're not going to be president this year, bro. You know it. I know it. If you are so dumb that you think that Vivek is going to beat Donald Trump in the Republican primary and be the president, that's insane. And if you're not, then why like what he'll do if he was honest, but politicians, they just say, when I'm president, okay, when Trump wins, what I'll do is use my influence to try to get Trump to close the border with my influence. Yes, that's what he'll do. He's not going to do it. You know, he doesn't have the opportunity or the chance. Like, but I get it. Like that's what you do. You're like, when I'm governor, you're like polling at like 3%. You're like, it just reminds me of like a kid pretending like he's an adult. You're like, when I'm president, I'm going to put Hawaiian punch in all the water fountains. And all the kids are like, yeah. It's like you're polling at 5%. Someone said, if elected, do I think Trump will hire Vivek or RFK? I would like to see that. Honestly, I would like to see what they do in a position. Probably not though. I don't know. In my opinion, Trump could win the election by 15 points if he did these things. If he said, all right, primary's over. RFK, you're not going to win, bro. I'll put you at the head of FDA or HHS. Trump says, RFK, if you drop out, I guarantee you I'll sign you a contract that you're the head of the FDA or the HHS. If Trump did that, if Trump said, DeSantis, you're going to be the secretary, or not the secretary of state, the attorney general. DeSantis is smart enough and good enough at law to be the attorney general. I don't know if I'd trust him there, because even though he'd do 95% of things, he'd sell our country out to a foreign country and pass speech laws to arrest you probably. So that's the one thing that I don't like about DeSantis. But in general, it's like put RFK at HHS or FDA, give DeSantis the attorney general, who do a 20 times better job than people Trump hired, and then give Vivek some random position. I don't know. You know, I wouldn't give him that high level position, but throw him a bone, like put him somewhere. If Trump did that, he'd win the election by 15 points. He'd suck up all the RFK voters, which are a lot. He'd suck up all the DeSantis voters, which are a decent amount. and he'd get all the Vivek people, which he'll get anyway, because Vivek is literally just like a funnel to Trump anyway. Like that's this whole thing is like, here's all the things that Trump's not saying or doing that he doesn't care about. Give them to Trump, you know? So if he did that, then I think the election could be won by a massive amount, you know, get RFK out of your way and get him on your cabinet. That would be very smart. And here's one thing I want to say too. This, in my view, is like something when people say, what can you do? There's a lot of things you could do media wise, personally. But when it comes to politicians, using their leverage and support to do something, like Vivek's not going to be president, but he does have an audience. RFK's not going to win, but he does have a huge voter block that can make or break the election for Trump. Or like RFK is like the secret kingmaker of this election. He could literally say, listen, I'm polling at 20% or whatever he is, like 15, 16%. You guys damn well know that 15% in this state makes or breaks your election. So who's going to put me at FDA? Who's going to put me at HHS? Who's going to allow me to do what I want to do with the pharmaceutical industry? And if Biden or, you know, like that's the future of politics, in my opinion. And same with DeSantis. If DeSantis says, hey, Trump, I'll, you know what I'm saying? He's going to have to support Trump anyway. But if Trump really wants to do a solid and be like, listen, let's put it all behind us, even though low-key, I think Trump called him a pedophile or something. It's like, I'll give you the attorney general. I'll give you a position. And Vivek, you did a good job. You're a good boy. You know, you've been a good boy. You can be like the I don't know, like the secretary of like, you know, digital Bitcoin or something. Like you could be the Bitcoin president and yeah, I got it. You know, that to me, that would, that's what people with small percentages of the electorate should do. They should use it as leverage to get things that they want and get positions. It makes a lot more sense and it's a lot more ethical than, you know, taking money from pharma and using that as influence. Like I'm not saying I want to run, but if I ran for president and I was polling at 10% or 15%, like RFK or 20%, are you going to ruin the election, RFK? Because like you're not going to win. You know, like RFK seems like a nice guy or whatever, but like he's not going to win. He's either going to screw over Biden or screw over Trump, and it's hard to tell which one he's going to screw over, but it's probably going to be Trump. So that's what you're doing. You know, like if you run Green Party, everybody's like, well, we're going libertarian. If you don't get 15% of the vote or 20% of the vote is libertarian, you're not getting on the debate stage. So if you're not getting on the debate stage, what are you doing? You know, like everyone could be like, oh, we didn't ruin the election. You kind of did, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm not telling you not to run. Yes, it is the Republican Party's responsibility. But what do you want to do, Gary Johnson? Do you want to just throw the election? Or do you want to just get 5% of the vote? Or do you want to funnel your 5% of the vote to the Republican Party and make them sign a contract that say that you have to do something libertarian that will never get done under either party? How is that not a great idea? It's an amazing idea. Everybody that has a low percentage should use it as leverage and say, sign the contract. Sign a contract that says that I will be the FDA director under your administration, because everyone else is just make believe. Like you know, what Vivek is doing, which is nothing wrong with, it's very smart. He's moving the Overton window, which is very important. I think he's done a fantastic job of doing that. He's gaining a lot of influence, which is great for him. You know, he's raising his price of what he gets for, you know, going to do speaking gigs, which is smart. And he has now an audience that he can use for leverage for a multitude of reasons, which is nothing wrong with. Like, I'm not a hater. I'm just, you know, it's like there's some things that I don't fully trust, but whatever. Use it. You know, I think Vivek is smart enough to do that. Honestly, I don't see RFK doing it. I don't see DeSantis doing it. I don't know if Trump wants him to do it, but I think that's what Vivek is probably doing. Like, all right, I'm not going to win, but I can get something out of that. And there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. All right. Appreciate it. Someone said, trust Sessions, trust Bill Barr, vote for Mitt. Listen, my Patriots, Mitt Romney, he's a changed man. I know he's been a phony his whole life, but Mitt Romney, he told me if he wins in Utah, that he'll be a really, really nice man to me. He told me my shoes looked good, and I said, wow, Mitt, you mean my big, beautiful shoes to match my big, beautiful hands? Thank you, Mitt. I didn't realize you were such a smart, cool man. Thank you. I'm gonna let you be the governor of the senator. Oh no, Patriots! It's now 2020, and I just realized Mitt Romney is not MAGA. I mean, anybody with half a brain should have known that from literally every data point in human history in Mitt Romney's entire life. Not for 1 second did 99.9% of my supporters ever think that Mitt Romney was on our side, because literally everybody in MAGA already knew that he wasn't on our side. But I, the leader of MAGA, somehow didn't know. And it's not my fault because Jared Kushner told me to. And when I listen to other people, I'm a grown man who has no accountability for myself. So we do not take accountability. We blame that person, even though that person's still in my administration. And now we're going to hire Bill Barr and trust Bill Barr and trust Jeff Sessions. And now you're going to go to a message board psyop that's going to tell you to trust the deep state. The only way to beat the deep state is to trust the deep state, my patriots. You know, you hate the FBI. Christopher Wray hates you, but I'm going to hire him, and I'm doing it as a 5D chess plan, because when January 6th happens, you're all going to go to prison, not Hillary Clinton. I know a lot of you are going to show up to January 6th saying, oh my gosh, I just peed in my pants. I can't wait for Chrissy Teigen and John Legend and Guantanamo Bay Joe Biden, who's a stunt double clone with his earlobes. They're all going to go to prison because the Capitol Police have always been double agents on our side. I know it's going to happen any second. And I know a lot of you pant pissers were expecting that. And now you're rotting in prison, and now you're getting persecuted by the FBI guy that I hired, that you got psyoped by a message board into thinking was on your side. And now what I'm going to do is build the FBI a big, shiny, new building. They need new Apple computers and Bill Gates Microsoft computers to spy on you, which is going to happen because Ted Cruz, who speaks at Turning Point, who claims that socialism sucks, actually voted for warrantless spying on you and me, which they've complained about for the last 5 years. They said, the government shouldn't spy on Trump without a warrant. They shouldn't have that power. That's why we gave them the power to do it again. So they do it again, and we play the victim. And Republican meme pages tell you that we are the victim and that there's nothing that we can do. It was only the Democrats and the rhinos. And of course, the rhinos that you guys are complaining about are rhinos that I myself hired and endorsed, pretty much all of them. And that means it's just their fault and not mine. I was just tricked. Remember, my patriots, when I make terrible decisions and I hire literally 99.9% of my cabinet as the swamp, it's not my fault. It's my advisor's fault. I don't do what I want to do. I do what they say I do. And when I do what other people say I do, normally people would call that a puppet, which pretty much every politician has been for the last 40 years. And everybody knows that. Everybody knows that every politician is a puppet because they get in office and they listen to other people and they do what they say, like Dick Cheney and George Bush. He's a puppet. But when I listen to my advisors and I do what they say and I do what you don't want me to do and I hire everybody I hate, I'm not a puppet because you are brainwashed to think that I am a Marvel character from a movie that makes you pee your pants and ignore your kids and wife and, you know, get fat and drink beer and think that I'll beat up the deep state for you, even though I keep hiring the deep state over and over and over and over again. And to prove that I won't do that again, patriots, I've been doing my conservative speaking tour where I've been pathologically lying about my pharmaceutical scam and saying crazier stuff that even Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci are not crazy enough to say, like my vaccine saved 100 million lives, which is factually untrue and nobody believes that. I've also said it's the greatest achievement of mankind, which means it's above literally everything mankind has ever done, which is one of the dumbest things ever said. And that shows that I've totally learned my lesson, that I'm literally lying more than I used to. And to show you that I totally know who the deep state is and I will no longer associate with them, I'm going to put Lindsey Graham on my stage more than Ted Nugent, DC Drano, and every one of my supporters that's actually cool and loyal to me. I'm going to put Lindsey Graham on a stage more than all of them multiple times. And you're going to boo for 5 seconds. And then I'm going to point at you and say, oh, I'll fix you guys. I'll change you people. And then you're going to cheer for me like little sheeple. So that's how we're going to beat the deep state patriots, by literally doing the same things over and over and over again. And when you bump your head on the floor, you're going to say, oh, why did Pelosi do this to me? Oh, why did Gavin Newsom do this to me? And then I'm going to go on Fox News and say, well, Gavin Newsom, he's really nice to me. He says really nice things. I can't hit him because he was so nice to me during the pandemic when I gave him everything he wanted and socialism and communism happened and Gavin Newsom was a psycho tyrant. We were friends then, so I don't want to say anything mean about my friend who destroyed his state. And then I'm going to turn to Ron DeSantis, who did an objectively way better job in a warm state, and I'm going to brainwash my really dumb supporters to say, oh, it's not DeSantis doing that. Charlie Crist, the Democrat, did a good job too. I mean, when you have warm weather and beaches, it's not that hard to run a government. And nobody's going to say anything about it. And Charlie Kirk's going to suck it down like a Slurpee because that's what all my supporters do. They literally mean nothing they say, and they just suck everything I say up like a Slurpee. And even though I'm going to say the reason that Florida is so much better with politics and it doesn't matter who wins, even though it's obviously disproven by California, which is probably has even better weather and even better real estate, and it's way bigger, and has a better climate. And it's not good because Democrats run it, but that's my friend Gavin Newsom over there. It doesn't make any sense, but it's not supposed to make sense, Patriots, because that's why you trust the plan. You trust the plan that makes no sense. And I do the same things over and over. And I've already proven to you that we are going to beat the deep state. And everybody that for 4 years said that martial law is good, they thought the lockdown was good because some message board told them that lockdowns were good. So when lockdown happened, they thought that pedophiles were being arrested in Europe, which obviously never happened, but they still believe that for some reason. And then they all got psyoped into saying, when we go to the Capitol, all the bad guys are going to get arrested, where they mysteriously all got arrested, and they still haven't figured it out, and they still watch X22 report. Well, I guess I'll vote for him over Biden. I do want a border, so honestly, I probably will vote for Trump, like I've been saying. With that being said, yeah, hopefully he can build the wall and fix the border and deport people, but I can't say I have high hopes when a movement operates with that level of thought process. Doesn't make sense to me. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I'll be back soon. And this has been the Dream Rare podcast. My song Working Class Boy that comes out on Friday is available for pre-order. Check the link in the bio or go to song.link/workingclassboy. Let's see if I can hit the Billboard charts, where if I do, they will mysteriously call me anti-Semitic in the press 1,000 times, even though my song has 0% to do with Israel or anything of that nature at all, because like a normal person, 99% of my songs have nothing to do with that because it's not what I think about or talk about all the time. However, let's try to hit the Billboard charts so the media can make me look insane again. That'll be fun. And then I'll get a plaque on the wall and think about it every time I get it. Thank you guys. Working Class Boy, available on Friday. Check the link in the bio. Everybody who bought it on Amazon, I appreciate you. Everybody who pre-ordered it on iTunes, I appreciate you. Let's see if we premiere on the charts. I'm hoping it looks good from the feedback I've been getting, but you never know till you know. Thank you guys.
Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk. For $5 a month, you can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful.
grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com, so check the links below in the description or just type in on any browser stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting emailed every day or every week. It's annoying, so I don't do it. Stayintouchwithme.com. It helps me take back some power away from big tech. Telegram, t.me/dreamrarechat or @dreamrarechat. Due to censorship, I post all my live stream and videos there. Sometimes I have some bonus content, and I try to give people a heads up when Facebook or YouTube won't. DreamRareChat at Telegram. My Instagram is @DreamRare. Thanks for everybody following there for shorter content. And DreamRareLinks.com, that's DreamRareLinks.com, has all my stuff. My podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, my music on Spotify and Apple, my Rumble page, my BitChute and Gab page. All my links are found at DreamRareLinks.com. Thanks for watching, folks. God bless you. You already know I'll be back with more content soon. Appreciate it.